Whoa, it's the CU Podcast. Whoa, it's the CU Podcast. Yeah! CU Podcast time.
Welcome to the Completely Unnecessary Podcast from Castle Country. It's February 13th. It's a Tuesday, the day before Valentine's Day, 2018. That's Ian Ferguson.
I am.
I'm Pat Country. We are doing the soft launch of the podcast here in Castle Country. Ian, what do you think of the place so far? I didn't give you the grand tour yet.
No, it's nice. I like the floors. I like the wood on the floors. I love wood floors.
Like the laminate? It's mostly wood. It's an engineered wood. It's wood. It's real.
Well, it looks goddamn good enough to me, Pat.
Is it turning you on the wood? The wood's giving you wood?
A little bit, maybe.
That's what you're living for this
Screwing on a
Valentine's Day.
cabin floor. Anyways,
On this show, besides wood floors, we'll be talking about the Nolan Bushnell GDC controversy, Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite not being played anywhere professionally, apparently. We're talking about AAA games. Should they cost $60? We might have a surprise scumbag sale of the week. Billy Mitchell with more Twin Galaxies controversy that we kind of predicted.
scrub.
The Venom trailer and your Q&A. Ian, have you been in a better mood lately? You seem like you're pretty good today. No?
Oh, it was really bad this morning, but I think just sitting here calmly.
Is this a calm environment for you?
No, not right now.
It's not.
No, just breathing, though. You know, waiting.
Just breathing?
Yeah.
Do you like the half moon
I do.
table here?
I like it a lot.
So-
I like this setup.
So for those out there, this is the temporary setup. So I'm gonna have a table made at some point. But for now, this isn't bad. And this is just I mocked this together in an hour here, but eventually this is gonna be good. So if you're listening to this, we are inside my game room / studio at Castle Country.
It's a house.
It's a house, but it's Castle Country. Because come on, it works. So the game shelves are across the room, and we're going to have the computer station behind me where I'll be streaming eventually, maybe with Ian sometimes. Or we could probably even stream from here, do a two-man streaming operation. And so this is basically the next evolution. Oh, rest in peace, Lemmy. But this is what the goal was to get to this point. And the place is a mess still. I have to set up the game room shelves, Ian, by tomorrow because I might have a photographer coming over for a special purpose that I can't announce right now. And yes, we have Mario spying on you behind your right shoulder. Mm-hmm. But this is cool. And then we can do potentially the next marathon here in the den, the cool den. So it'll be great.
The den.
Did you see the den? Yeah, I'll give you the tour later.
Yeah, I'll see it when we leave.
Before I drive home. But slowly but surely, I've been getting back to normalcy though. But it's been rough.
Well,
but we're getting there.
it'll get there.
We're gonna get there. While I look at the Milan Secret Castle complete in box in that Sterilite container, along with 30 other NES games in the box I don't need potentially. Oh, I need that top secret episode sealed. Yeah, I need that one. But I have some City in the box. Oh, nice. Star Fox. Okay, sorry, I'm getting distracted.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll relearn to appreciate the games I have as I put them back on the shelves.
So that's kind of, that's a little secret hope I have for you.
Oh, it's not so secret anymore, though, is it?
No,
Not so much.
no, it's not.
So like I said, again, guys, stick with us. We are slowly getting to a point where we're going to be doing this more professionally. We have stuff to announce on the Patreon. By the next podcast, we'll have those announced for the patreon.com/CU podcast. And I think I just feel more professional here. I just feel like we know what we're doing a little bit more. No? The environment isn't changing that?
No, not yet. It's nice to have a change of environment, though.
It's nice to be free from Spike potentially attacking us while we broadcast.
Kind of miss him.
You're gonna miss Spike. I'll visit Spike. I'll visit him. So anything else that's going on in your life lately?
No, just working more than usual.
No Valentine's Day.
Oh yeah, there is every year. We order a pizza from the East Coast and have it shipped here. There's a place in Buffalo called Bocce's Pizza. Best fucking pizza.
Like it's spelled the same as like bocce ball?
Yeah, exactly.
BOCCE, is
Yep.
that?
Dino's Bocce Club Pizza.
Okay.
I'm assuming Dino was a nice Italian man who played a lot of bocce and then made his friends pizza. That's what I'm going to guess.
I mean, that's just his name. That's so funny. I was like watching, not the stereotype. I was watching all the murders from the Sopranos season on a whole YouTube hour 15-minute clip yesterday. I was like,
Wow.
I'm not sure. I was in a dark space last night apparently before I went to sleep.
I always am.
I should have watched Forensic Files instead. At least you get justice out of those deaths.
Yeah, it's
The
true.
Sopranos is just pointless and needless and kind of weird. But
So Bocce's, you can the pizza is so popular there that they will ship nationwide, and you order the pizza, and the day before they ship it out, they make it and they half bake it. They cut it into 2 halves, foil wrap each half, stack the 2 halves on top of each other, put it in an actual Bocce's pizza half pizza box, and then just packing tape up all the corners and possible holes, slap a shipping label right on the top of the pizza box, and mail it to you overnight. So
all right.
it's amusing when you get
You
it.
can have some good pizza. You can make out afterwards and share some cheese breath.
Yeah.
It sounds like a great time.
It's gonna be good.
I'll be spending it probably, I don't know, putting games on shelves, which could be just as romantic. I might make out with a sealed N64 copy of Majora's Mask I have laying around somewhere.
Try drugs.
No, it's Ocarina of Time. I have that special goodie you gave me a while back.
It's legal now.
I don't know what to call it. It's like a lifesaver, but ittle get me high. I don't know.
It's an edible gummy ring.
Yeah, it's
20 milligrams.
20 milligrams, 2
Yep.
cc's. 2 cc's of pot. Ian, this was a topic that we thought would be interesting because we just want to talk about being Nintendo fanboys, gigantic ones. We just didn't want to talk about what's going on with the Switch and the massive sales, of the year. But the best selling games of the year.
Yeah, so sometimes these reports come out late. And this, well, we missed this one, but these come out a little bit late because of the sales figures. They take a little bit while to calculate them. But the 10 best games of 2017, and if there were any surprises or anything like that. And just to run down the list real quick before making any comments on it. Call of Duty World War II was the number 1 selling game. NBA 2K18 was 2. Destiny 2 was 3.
Not including digital PC sales for some reason.
Digital or PC. PC digital.
No, just PC digital
Oh, okay.
with 2 stars.
Madden NFL 18. Breath of the Wild.
Without including
with
digital.
No digital. Grand Theft Auto 5. We'll get to that in a second. Tom Clancy's Ghost Recon Wildlands, which Pat wanted to play, but I don't think he did. Star Wars.
Sorry, Alvin. I haven't had time.
I remember that was the one you wanted to play.
I'm constructing Castle Country.
Moats. Star Wars Battlefront 2, not including PC digital sales. Super Mario Odyssey, not including regular digital sales. And Mario Kart 8, not including digital sales. So, a couple things probably jump out for a few people here. One, just because people assume it from us, we might as well start with it. It's a good amount of Nintendo stuff on there for top selling games of 2017. Out of 10, you've got 3 spots held by Nintendo.
You have 3, and 1 is number 5, and you have to take in consideration that these aren't multi-console platform releases.
Right, exactly. And even though the Switch has been selling incredibly well, there were simply not that many units out there to really allow for a much higher sell-through.
For the first few months before you got to Mario Kart 8 Deluxe being released, you couldn't find it at all.
Oh, I'm just saying though, but in general, if you compare something like the amount of Switch units out there and then Breath of the Wild compared to, well, it's not even a good comparison, but the amount of consoles out there that
You're
can
talking
play,
attach rate.
Yeah, attach rate.
Yeah, the attach rate's insane for all these Switch titles. Absolutely, because
And
no
the
one has
install
it yet.
base. I mean, there's still not a huge the installed. It's selling rapidly, but the install base has not had a chance to
No, which we'll get
build
to the
up.
Switches that have
Yeah.
sold, but yeah, this isn't a mature console like
So,
the other.
That's what. Yes.
Yeah,
Exactly. That's what I'm
what's
getting at.
Remarkable, you would say about it. Are you surprised that number 1 was the World War II Call of Duty?
I actually was surprised to see
People want to kill with old machine guns, not the new stuff.
I think with Call of Duty World War II and Activision, there was some outcry at first, I think, from people because they're like, oh, we don't want to go back to World War II. There's been a billion World War II shooters, and yes, there has,
3 billion.
but they did 2 smart and safe moves. I think one, There hasn't been one in long enough time that people might see it as something unique to see on a next gen or a current generation system. Can't
Sure.
say next gen anymore. Two, after trying to bust out of the war bubble further than they did with Modern Warfare, which had a crazy storyline to begin with, but with Advanced Warfare and Infinite Warfare,
They progressed too quickly. There.
Yeah.
It's like, all right, we're going a few years in the future. Now we're going 100 years into the future, just about. And it's like,
they lost a lot of people, I think, doing that. So by going back to
Trying
what
too
they,
hard.
yeah, going back to what they knew, World War II, Nazi zombies,
knives, bayonets, machine guns, Tommy guns, regular old,
none of it is fresh, but it looks fresh to the player who's been playing Call of Duty for so long. Because we had Modern Warfare 1, 2, 3, the Black Ops games, you had Ghosts, you had Advanced Warfare, you had Infinite Warfare. It really has been a long time since they've seen something like this.
So for this generation, it's new.
Right. You have to keep in mind that there are now people playing this game who probably weren't around when the first, 3 Call of Duties and special editions were World War IIs.
When did Battlefield 1 come out again? Was that last year or late 2016?
That was 2016.
Okay. I would love to see. Well,
I
definitely.
think.
Well, I'm just going to look that up. I'm kind of surprised that's not on that list still. Battlefield 1. When did that come out? That came out in October 21st, 2016. Okay, so
Okay.
most of the sales are probably then, so that's why. I would have been interested to see both at the same time, though, just to see how they would have stacked up against each other. But, it is what it is. Maybe people bought both. Maybe people play that for a few months, and then they went into that.
Yeah. There's 2 others that I would comment on here.
Oh, would you, Ian? Being that we have a podcasting studio being constructed.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Star Wars Battlefront 2. That was a pack-in game I know for sure, for a lot of PlayStation 4 holiday bundles.
Oh, they had a bundle?
Yeah.
With, like, Vader on the front?
And if you would fact check me, I think they did one with Xbox One as well, where the game was packed in.
Battlefront 2 bundle.
So I want to say that probably helped boost.
PlayStation 4 Pro, 1 terabyte Star Wars Battlefront 2 limited edition one. Was there an Xbox One as well? If there was, you're right. Because if you're buying that for your kid, why not get the bundle?
Right.
I mean, why not do that? So they're counting that, which you have to for that. It's not like Wii Sports. You're buying it partially for that game,
So, I'm surprised to see it as high on the list after all the people,
I'm not.
complained. But that's because a lot of people will complain and still immediately turn around and go buy something.
Or not everyone who complains online is buying it.
Sure.
It's the vocal minority of people not everyone's on social media yelling about shit. Some people have jobs and stuff to do besides writing long ass letters and going on Reddit. Not to put the people down, but some people have more stuff to do. They'll be like, yeah, not a big deal. I'm gonna buy it. I mean,
Sure.
that's the reality. We forget sometimes that just because we are into this form of communication,
Not everyone is as
not
hardcore
everyone
as
is.
thou. Yeah.
Yes.
I have seen Star Wars Battlefront 2 come rolling into the store at a pretty steady pace already.
Oh, literally, they just chuck it down and they just kind of tumbles in.
Yeah, it's amazing how that works. But I mean, I even had a guy who came in with the copy unopened, and he was like, "Yeah, it came with my PlayStation. I don't want it. I just want a different game." And I was like, "Okay." He's like, "I've just heard too much bad news about it. I don't want to try it." And I was like, "If it was given to me for free, I'd probably try it." But
Sure. I'm just going to go through a couple of things that really surprised me. I'm not surprised that Madden makes the list, obviously. I'm kind of shocked that 2K18's at number 2.
I'm not. It's been
I know basketball the last few years has gotten way more popular in general, or a lot more popular. It's the fastest growing sport now. I'm just surprised that the install base for that would be higher than Madden.
It's crazy. From where I sit at the store, we get more calls for NBA 2K these days than we ever do for Madden, and that's both locations.
Is it just better career? I know that they have like career modes and things like that, and
They do. I mean, people are saying that too much of it is tied to virtual currency now, but when it comes down to it, I think 2K, NBA 2K just became the sports game around, I want to say 2K13.
it just became like, okay, this is Madden, but this is a lot more fun to play.
This
maybe.
is our new Madden. And
They update it better every year versus Madden, maybe.
And even though because of people selling stuff early and stuff like that, we don't really bother with copies of Madden or NBA 2K anymore on release day, or if we do, it's just a couple.
Sure.
We get far more phone calls for NBA 2K early on release day than that. It seems like everyone just ignores Madden, or no one, or Madden's just a foregone conclusion, and people pre-order this shit on their PS4 or their Xbox One, and it's just there for them on game day.
Madden, the foregone conclusion, limited edition.
Yeah.
I'm not shocked because, I mean, hell, if I want to play a modern game like Ghost Recon Wildlands, it must be special if it gets my attention, right, Ian? If I want to play
Yeah.
it, I mean, let's be honest. So I'm not shocked about that, and from what I hear, it's really fun, especially when you're playing with other people.
I'm sort of shocked just because I don't hear anything about it, but I mean, it moves when it's in the store.
I think it was a very unique looking game in terms of what it provided, where team-based, 4 people, open world, you can do objectives the way you want with your friends. That is very interesting to me.
Sure.
From what I've heard. GTA 5 still on the list.
So
Wow.
I
A couple of years, what was it, 2.5 years ago already that came out?
look it up. Look her up.
All right, Ian. You got a computer too, but your wish is my command.
Grand Theft Auto 5.
Okay. I'm your fucking pawn. 2013. It's been over 4 years.
Yes, that's why I wanted to double check that. It's been a long time. Grand Theft Auto 5, I just don't think will ever stop being popular. I don't know.
I mean, the online is robust.
The
They
online
keep releasing stuff for it.
Exactly. They keep releasing stuff for online. The online is robust. I haven't played Grand Theft Auto 5.
That's insane to me. That's still 4 years in.
But from the way people talk and with the fact that they continue to support it, Rockstar does, it just kind of seems like you may have hit this sort of zenith with the series, to the point where Rockstar's probably like, well, we've got ideas on how we could do this better, but we're going to let this run. If this is going to continue to make us money, why bother?
Well, they come out about once every 4 or 5 years, a GTA game. So 6 is probably in development. You would think it's been in development for...
Yeah, I mean, 4
these games take 4 years to make, these GTA games.
4 came out around the beginning of the 360 PS3, and then 5 was around the end.
Sure.
So
And
that's actually longer than
And then
4
I'm
years.
guessing with the new consoles, it probably looks a little bit better with the HDR and upscaling.
They added some stuff. I think they added like a first-person mode and, upscaling.
Okay, so we got all the non-Nintendo stuff out of the way, but since we're fanboys, we have to address Mario Kart 8, Super Mario Odyssey, and of course Breath of the Wild. And Breath of the Wild was the first one and basically helped sell the console, like we said, bridge the gap until the middle of the year when you had stuff like Splatoon 2 come out, and then Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, and then you're off and running, and then it's actually stocked in stores, because when Mario Kart 8 Deluxe came out, that's when I actually found the Switch finally in the store.
Sure.
And now you can find one regularly for the most part. And with the holidays, it kind of proved it, because now they've already sold more Nintendo Switch consoles than Wii U's
Yeah.
in less than a year, in
crazy.
9 months, which is insane.
Yeah, it's funny.
But alongside that, if you own a Switch, almost because of the attach rates, more than half of the people, I think, last time I looked it up, was like definitely more than half have Breath of the Wild, and then
Well, for a long time there, I mean, it's not anymore.
attach rate was
Of course,
100%.
It was over 100%.
because people just bought it
Because
like me.
people like you who bought it knowing that they were going to get a Switch at some
Yeah,
point.
I got $12 off on Amazon, of course. And then Odyssey obviously is the fact that Odyssey makes the list, and that came out only a few months
October,
ago.
yeah.
That's pretty nuts.
So,
to
I mean,
catch up.
they're only looking at sales of December, November,
half of October, right?
half of October.
Was it half? Was it end of October? Yeah. So that's remarkable, but it just shows that, yeah, we want these titles. Now, I've seen commentary saying that, well, Nintendo might have blown their wad on their first-party games because of these two. I don't think so. I think that, not that Metroid Prime 4 is going to match an Odyssey, but that'll help boost it a lot when that comes out probably like next year, potentially. You still have a Smash Brothers game to come out. You still have a Star Fox game to come out. You still probably have an F-Zero game to come out. And that's just first party, not even including third party that are
Right.
coming out. And what was the other thing I saw was that already there's more Switch games that exist than Wii U, putting everything together with independent titles.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So already the library is more robust 1 year in. If you put in everything together with third party, indie, and first party.
Well, the people who are complaining about, Nintendo already blowing their load with these games, it's like, well, if they didn't put these out, then you'd say that they weren't presenting a strong enough.
Yeah.
I mean,
They're-
you're not going to win with that argument.
Yeah.
You're damned if you do. You're damned if you don't. So
Oh, you're gonna have another Mario Kart besides the deluxe.
yeah, I don't expect to see that until much
A
further
few
down
years.
the line.
Yeah, at least 3-4 years.
But yeah, Mario Kart 8's not going to be the only Mario Kart on this system.
No, but for many people, it's the first one. They're gonna sell more of those than the Wii U one.
Yeah.
Absolutely, by probably 2 or 3 times. So it makes sense to re-release it, obviously, and it helped. Hell, I bought it again. Haven't played it yet, but I bought it again. Damn you, Amazon, giving 20% off. Damn you. So again, this is an interesting list. I was surprised to see 2K18 up at number 2. Not top. Destiny 2, we didn't talk about. Destiny is obviously a huge game that I don't understand the big deal over, but I'm not into that stuff. So anyway,
Just play Monster Hunter.
let's play Monster Hunter instead. Or is that going to that might make the list for 2018?
It's absolutely going to make that list at 6. Just a quick side note here: 6 million units already sold. Fastest selling Capcom game ever.
That's nuts.
Ever.
Oh, by the way, the caveat again for these 3 Nintendo titles: no digital sales are included.
Yeah.
So who the hell knows how much higher they could have been, especially Breath of the Wild. That could be maybe a couple spots up. We don't know.
Could be.
Maybe it could have surpassed Madden. That would have been nuts, right? More Breath of the Wild than Madden. The Dude Bros are going to be mad at that one. So this happened. This event happened. This controversial event happened right after the last podcast with Nolan Bushnell being invited to GDC this year to be presented with a lifetime achievement award, and there was a lot of backlash to that. There was a hashtag saying not Nolan because they didn't want in this environment Nolan Bushnell to be given any sort of recognition at GDC, especially in the climate we are right now with the sexual misconduct and harassment issues in Hollywood, the Me Too hashtag movement, and everyone in Hollywood being outed as pieces of trash. So on the back of that, this is coming into the gaming environment
Right.
with Nolan Bushnell. So they invited him in there, the Game Developers Conference, that they would give its annual Pioneer Award to. He was the co-founder, Bushnell, who was there from the beginning with Pong, and then he helped with the 2600. He sold it to Warner in '76. They got the money. The 2600 comes out as the VCS in '77, helps revolutionize the home console market. Atari becomes a big name. Now they're garbage, but before they were great. The whole point is this, though. Bushnell had a lot to do with that, running that company well in the first 5 or 6 years before he stepped aside. He also did Chuck E. Cheese when it was Showtime Theater?
Showtime Pizza.
Showtime Pizza. So he's done a lot for the industry. And he's worthy of getting a video game developer award lifetime achievement. I think not many people would argue that, sensibly would argue that. So the argument against him receiving this award, though, became people looking back at the past of Atari and their working environment. And it's famous. I mean, we knew it. Like one of the most famous, whenever you see Nolan Bushnell announced for any sort of conference or past expos, they would use a picture of him in a hot tub with a cigar.
Sure.
Like that's an image in your head. And that's what people came to associate Atari with in the 70s environment, was their sort of free-loving 70s era work environment where it's like, oh, we have parties, free sex and free love. And a lot of that came from Bushnell himself talking about that over the years and him explaining this is how it was back then, not being ashamed of it, just this is how we did business. So that became an outcry in the environment saying, well, maybe that's not proper for this point in time for him to be a representative at GDC to receive this Pioneer Award. Maybe this isn't the right time for that. At least that's what I saw. So Nolan Chu put out a statement saying he basically understood. And he said that he did a statement here. I do not think exploiting these kinds of issues through a finite 40-year-old prism offers a productive reflection of our company. Instead, I would refer you to the thoughts and comments of the scores of former employees. That's when Kotaku asked him to comment. But he basically before that put out a pretty sensible statement. It's like if you
It was along the same lines.
if you don't want to honor me, I totally understand. We're at a different space and time right now, and it is what it is, and so. Kotaku mentioned an article, put out an article. This is one of the best articles I've ever read on Kotaku.
This
I
was
mean-
done by Anastasia.
Cecilia de Anastasia.
Yeah, Cecilia de Anastasia. She also
Sex-
did an interesting article on the Wii U's afterlife.
So this
She's
article
good.
is called "Sex, Pong, and Pioneers: What Atari Was Really Like, According to Women Who Were There." And she reached out and interviewed, I think, at least a dozen women that worked at Atari in the 70s, which is very fascinating. So you have people who worked back then, people who started off very young, people that worked their way up different. Some people were making minimum wage or close to it. Other people were in different aspects, and they commented on a lot of stuff. They talked about the environment. They talked about the hot tub. It was every other day men only hot tub, women, and then Friday was
co-eds.
Friday co-ed. They said, yeah, people dated freely. People asked you to date, and some coworkers dated. Some people didn't. There was a little allegations in here that maybe some Atari employees were participated in a porno, perhaps in the 70s.
Right.
So that's how Atari was in the free-loving California 70s.
Right.
So what's interesting about this story to me, though, is that she reached out, because a lot of times when you hear people getting upset for others, you don't hear from the original people associated with these stories. They don't comment. Here you have a chance for the women to comment on it. And some seemed like they're like, yeah, for the time, it was what it was. I was comfortable with it. One woman said she wasn't comfortable with some of it. You have a range of people. One woman said she helped design the hot tub area, which I thought was pretty funny. It's like, hey, I helped design the hot
One
tub
helped
area.
design the hot tub area. One helped design the volleyball court
Yeah, they played volleyball.
when they were moving.
One really said that there was sexual objectification, but it was by both men and women that were doing it.
That's actually something I wanted to touch on too.
So when you're looking back, what Nolan Bushnell was referring to, like the prism of the time, he to his credit, he sort of understands that, yeah, maybe in this environment I'm not comfortable with people giving me an award, but that, to me at least personally, I of course you have to honor the man's achievements. We wouldn't potentially be where we are in the industry without him. But this is a very complex issue. I implore everyone
hugely
to read this article
complex.
at Kotaku. I feel like I'm rambling. I don't think I'm trying to tiptoe on a minefield here. But this guy did a lot for the industry. And I don't think this is a black and white issue at all. And I'll turn it over to you, and we'll see where it
Well, I
goes.
don't think it's black and white either. I don't necessarily disagree with GDC maybe not wanting to give them the award right now. I don't know that.
I think GDC looks stupid for not realizing they could have had a backlash to this stuff, or not realizing this existed.
Oh, sure. I think maybe it should have been thought through prior to announcement and then cancellation. But I understand not wanting to bring to light this sort of workspace in an era where we're trying to get to the point where workspaces are more professional, where people feel more comfortable. That said, I don't necessarily know that in this microcosm instance, it was necessarily all bad.
You want me to see this quote right here?
Which quote?
This is from Lonnie Reeder, who worked at Atari for 2 years and co-founded a company with Bushnell. She said, "It's drive-by assassination. I think there's an element of telephone being played. Every day was not a wet t-shirt contest. There's a collective anger amongst us toward the individuals who made this a big deal." So she's referring to those at Atari from back then, are saying, what the fuck are you talking about? You're being way more offended than we were potentially when we worked there.
Problem is with that is if you're going to rest on stories of hot tubs and decadence, and that's what you're going to constantly push out, promote, and talk about to make working at a place look cool for so long, it's going to be blown way out of proportion, even if
absolutely.
that's not what it is.
Like I said, that Bushnell picture.
I don't have a whole lot of sympathy for the image being blown out of proportion if you purposely blow that image out of proportion yourself.
But is it fair to conflate that with your achievements and to denigrate potentially your achievements and to say, like, well, this guy was horrible? And it's like, well, from what I see from the stories from a dozen people, it's like, well, no one didn't seem like he did anything really, nothing illegal from what it seems like at the time. It's just like, if you were transported now, 2018, back then, you'd be like, what the fuck is this? But that was everywhere, though. And that's not to excuse it all. But I'm just watching. It's funny. I got back into Mad Men recently,
Right.
And that's half of the plots is like people of other races and women being shit upon in the '60s in New York City,
Right.
Because that's how it was. But it seems like for the time though, Atari was very, very progressive.
No, it does, and that is true. It really you have to think about the time, think about their mindset, and what level men and women considered themselves on within any sort of development community. But GDC is not only about game development and conference, but also it's actively involved in trying to improve the workplace for women, for minorities. This is not necessarily what we're fighting against now, but it's easy to conflate those two. And then also, I'm not trying to say anything about Nolan Bushnell's achievements. He deserves some recognition for them, but that would have been a weird venue to do it. Look, this is how I have to kind of put this, because they even said, the ladies even say that this was empowering, for a lot of them, because y'all get together. This is a club. This is a starting business, and everyone can probably rib, throw jokes, take shots at each other. Anyone who worked in the restaurant industry can probably read this article and go, holy shit, I worked in that environment.
Sure. Freewheeling, sex happening behind the cheeses that are in the corner.
Yeah, smoking blunts behind the dumpster, having sex in the fucking storage rooms. This is the sort of stuff that does occur in certain business places, and a lot of people...
It fosters it more.
It fosters it. And... from where I was in a restaurant, a certain one, for like 3 of the 7 years I was there, that's just how it ran. And the objectification that, you mentioned earlier about this going both ways, it was very much how it worked at the restaurants. The women objectified the men, and the men objectified the women, and everyone went out to drink at night and fucked, and everyone was fine and friends the next morning.
Sure.
But that's not... But just because you can have that
you don't want to put that on Front Street at GDC. That's basically what they want to do.
Yeah, and just because you can have that sort of workplace, it doesn't mean that that's exactly the sort of workplace. Just because you can see that happen at a place like Atari or at a restaurant and have it work well enough, there's 2 things. One, you don't necessarily want that to be... You don't want that to be a workspace everywhere. And 2, what you're not seeing, and what she touches on in this article, but I can also touch on, is while there were lots of people who had fun, men and women, I know lots of women who dominated the floor at various restaurants.
Oh, sure.
Both in terms of sexually and just presence wise, and it was great.
They're the queen bees of the waiter world.
And they would slap around the cooks, and it was great. But it also, I could present you, if asked and put on the spot.
There were people that didn't like it.
Right. Well, hey, give me some examples of people I could talk to about your time at working at XXXXX.
Sure.
And I could think of all my friends and present them, and they'd be like, yeah, there was some bad times, there was some good times, but overall it was a really fun experience. But, sure, there was some sexual harassment, and it may have been...
Oh, sure.
Right, okay, so there's that. But those people are my friends, and I can present them to you because they're already pretty okay with the situation. What we're not hearing are the people who quit the restaurant I worked at after a month because they didn't like that, because they couldn't... They never got to fit in with the gang. There's probably people at Atari, women at Atari, who hated that.
Absolutely.
That lifestyle.
But in that time, though, that was the norm. So if you worked at any corporation for the most part, again, go back to Mad Men, you had the ass slapping, the secretary culture and stuff. So that was almost, it sounds like, they talked to some of them that said, like, it was worse at other places that they worked at.
No,
they come to Atari and it was better.
She did say that. She said, no, she said after she left Atari, she almost quit one of her jobs. And when asked, she was like, where I come from, they were nice. And, where I'm at now, you guys are mean.
So the argument, I have 2 arguments here. And there's one great little anecdote from a French girl named Muriel Chevalier who went there. And she was only, she came from Paris. And then she came and she said, this was great. I got promoted quickly. Said it was quite different from the companies she was used to working with in France as well. She said the clients that she's with, they're very chauvinistic. But there she said, I went from assistant to credit manager at Atari. After 3 months, she was the division's director. She got put up the chain. And so it sounds like that's what Atari was like, equal opportunity. It's like, yeah, this is the 70s, free love, feminist movement and kicked in high gear. And this is what it was. So again, GDC either should have done their homework better, in my opinion, because they pretty much put Bushnell in a situation to be embarrassed. He didn't need to be. He absolutely did not need to be.
Right. That I can agree. I mean, the whole situation could have been avoided.
Absolutely. And so while there's still elements of bad behavior still in workplaces today, absolutely, I think, yeah, I know. It's like I said, it's very strange. I understand it's up to GDC whether or not they want to rescind any sort of award to someone. But I hope this doesn't now carry with Bushnell for the rest of his life, where now if people bring him up, it's like, well, there was some bad shit going on at Atari in the 70s. And it's like, all right, that's what his legacy is going to be now. Is that, you hope not.
I don't think that's going to be his legacy. I mean, my final statements on this would be, I understand in the current environment, GDC perhaps not wanting to bring light to the sort of workplace that they are in these days. It could look similar, but is probably very different actually than what it was back then. 2, I think Bushnell deserves to be acknowledged for his achievements, but I don't know. As much as I can talk about time in restaurants, as much as these people probably really enjoyed their time at Atari, I also have a real tough time, like personally lately, but I don't think that these are necessarily things that should be glorified because of their ability to go wrong in so many situations.
Absolutely, but that's not why GDC was going to honor the guy. They weren't going to say, well, we honor you because you had an Atari-themed hot tub. That's not why he was going to be honored.
No, but I'm just saying that would have come out, and perhaps they didn't want that stuff to come out.
I was going to leave it with this. Compared to, it sounds like from these women's stories and from everyone else, it sounds like Atari was a lot more progressive than other places at the time.
Absolutely.
We talk about Centipede and Donna Bailey, recognized as one of the first major female game developers. That's Atari
She was
as well.
like the only female programmer at Atari during that time.
But for the most part, though, that's better than other places that were around.
Yeah. No, there was progression. I'm not saying that there wasn't. And I honestly, I think that, from these stories that were told, that this was probably a lot milder than people make it out to be. But, I mean, that also goes back to kind of one of my original statements, which is, if you're going to play it up like a certain thing, then
now you can't do it anymore.
Well, yeah. And if you're going to play it up like X, then you better expect for you to get the backlash of playing it up like X, even if it wasn't like that all the time. Like the quote that we read at the beginning where they think it was a drive-by assassination and it wasn't a wet t-shirt contest every day. Well, if it wasn't, then it shouldn't be talked about as such.
Sure, but I think in the past when you talked about it 10 years ago versus now, it's a different climate. So it's not like, I don't think Bushnell, knowing what's going on now, would go out and say the same thing that he said 10 years ago or 8 years ago or 20 years ago.
2012, he was talking about stacked secretaries.
But even that's a different environment to where we are now.
Fair enough. 6
years later. So, all right. I don't think did I ever meet Nolan Bushnell? I don't know. He seems all right, by me. But like I said, I just hope this doesn't follow him for the rest of his life now versus what he actually achieved. So
I think this is a fairly mild story, all things. And yeah, this is a great article, though. I mean, it's really straight down the middle, both sides.
Fair and balanced, Ian. Kotaku, turning over a new leaf. Gamers aren't dead yet. This portion of the CU podcast is sponsored by Dollar Shave Club, where you can try the $5 shit shower and shave kit for only $5. Go to dollarshaveclub.com/CUshave to order.
Looking pretty baby-faced, Pat.
Well, you know what helps with that, Ian? Dollar Shave Club, the executive razor, which is part of their shit shower and shave trial kit. You go to dollarshaveclub.com/CUshave for the deal. It's only $5. You get this executive razor, which I use, has 6 blades on there. That's why you get a babyface Pat easily.
You get some other goodies in there too to help with the whole morning process. You also get a shave butter trial size to ensure a very smooth shave. And you also get an amber lavender body cleanse for the bath
You know what?
and the shower.
We're at the point now where a man can use a body cleanse freely and openly. It's 2018. It's okay to do that. I was ahead of the curve. I was using that stuff 10 years ago.
If it says lavender on it, I've probably been using it since I was a teenager. Anything that smells like lavender is great. And you even get a couple,
You get a few of the One Wipe Charlie butt wipe packs.
and they are butt wipes, and they are peppermint scented. And another thing we can all talk about now is if you've never experienced a solid wipe with a good wipe.
A solid wipe with a good wipe, is it a verb and a noun?
Yeah, it is. It is. A wipe is a thing and also something you do. You can now try it with these One Wipe Charlie. So this box is $5, and it's body wash, it's shave butter, it's a 6-blade razor with four
replacements.
cartridges.
4 cartridges.
A handful of the One Wipe Charlies, and it saves you from going to the store.
When I go to the store, Ian, there's so much competition in the aisle. You don't know what to choose when you're looking for razors. You actually don't.
But by the time I get to the razors, I'm worn out from trying to decide what mozzarella sticks I want.
Exactly.
And that is...
So Dollar Shave Club makes it easier.
Yes.
So it's $5 to start this trial, and you can cancel anytime. If you continue on, it's $9 a month after that for the One Wipe Charlie packs you'll get every month, and you'll get replacement cartridges for your executive razor. Like I said, I use this. This is great for travel as well, and it works. It's nice and smooth. Yeah, going to the store stinks to buy razors. They're overpriced. You know that. Forget that. So again, you get the shave butter. You get the shave butter, Ian. You get the body wash. Body wash.
Wash.
One Wipe Charlie's. Hey, maybe you can do a couple of wipes on one. We're not going to tell if you do.
Wipes.
Why
yeah.
not? And you get the most important thing to me, at least, is this executive razor right there. Again, go to dollarshaveclub.com/CU shave. That's letter CU and shave. See, we're going to watch you shave in your own domicile. We're going to do that? No, we're not going to do that.
But we're not going to watch you wipe. Don't
We're not
worry.
gonna- We're just going to watch one and not the other. Dollar Shave Club, great grooming products. It's not going to kill you. It's not going to break the bank either there. So again, dollarshaveclub.com/CU shave. You wanted to put this topic on the agenda here. Marvel versus Capcom Infinite.
I wanted to talk a little bit about the state of fighting games, but this is really just the main jump off and my main point. So Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite came out in September of 2017. The entire time it was in development, people laughed at it.
Did they really?
Well, yeah, because it looked like garbage. Graphically, it looked like nonsense. It looked like they were, pulling or rushing assets from other places, and people started to get...
Wouldn't half the assets be from Marvel vs. Capcom 3? Like the same characters are in it?
necessarily.
Why would it be that much different?
And things started to get bleaker as, there were rumors and then confirmations that certain characters wouldn't be making it back into Infinite. Basically, the roster was going to be considerably nerfed, with the absence of the X-Men being one of the main...
Damn you, Fox.
The main things that they were...
Except for like Wolverine.
No Wolverine.
No Wolverine.
No X-Men.
None. Wolverine's usually like
No X-Men.
even in this
Yeah, I know he's
post
been
X-Men
an
world,
Avenger, but
no
X-Men.
You can still find him in a T-shirt at Target. No Fantastic Four or X-Men though.
No X-Men.
Wow, that's shocking.
So, and it wasn't all just Fox. Apparently, part of it was that Disney very much wanted to only focus on stuff that people were seeing in the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Stuff that they're making money on.
Yeah.
Because they're not making money on X-Men.
Right, but that's not going to sell it. So, I mean, the big thing about these Marvel vs. Capcom games, besides like the lightning quick gameplay and all that, and the tagging in and tagging out that people love, is been the historically rather large and fun rosters of characters to pick from, and you just didn't get that. So the game launched to little fanfare. People said that it was mechanically tight, but the user interface was awful. There was very little in the way of options. Characters were bland looking. You know, and you know, people at Capcom, or I think it was at Capcom Unity, you know, when people were complaining about the absence of favorite characters, they're like, well, if you're playing a fighting game, they're just a function, so it shouldn't matter anyways.
Ooh, that's bad. People have their favorites. They have their means.
Yeah, well, Magneto's just a function, and this character will, you know, serve this function. No,
No,
that's not how people.
games work.
That's not how
No.
it works.
No, not when they're based on known comic book entities that you love.
Yeah,
It's not like making up some fighting game and throwing in clay fighter characters that you don't know who the fuck they are.
Right, I mean,
like Tiny.
I can play-
Tiny's my main in clay fighter. Tiny's
I can play and enjoy a lot of fighting games with characters that I don't know, but that doesn't mean that I wouldn't rather know those characters. So if I want to play a game with Magneto, acting as Magneto, I want to play fucking Magneto. So anyway, so this would be its first tournament season. And it's not going to be at EVO. That was the first announcement.
which is the biggest fighting game
Yeah,
event.
it's not there at all. And really, Capcom's only major showing is Street Fighter V. And it's crazy because games like Dragon Ball Fighters, which is fantastic, are not only at EVO, but they have their finals on Sunday.
And those games are fairly recent.
Dragon Ball Fighters is like 3 weeks ago.
So that already has an install base, and people are excited enough that we're doing that. We're not going to wait. We know that's going to be a
Yeah,
hit.
exactly. And it's one of the Sunday finalists, and Sunday finalists are big. There's usually 5 of them. This year, I think it's like Street Fighter V, Tekken 7, Guilty Gear, Xrd, Dragon Ball Fighters,
And that's in August. Okay.
and one other.
August 3rd to 5th. Evo.
So it's just not there at all. So that right there is evidence that it's
dead.
It's just dead. Just dead. I mean, there are people who play it, and I've played a lot of fighting games that have had little to no support, and I feel bad for these people who like it, but this is what happens when someone gets lazy and they totally miscalculate and they just assume people are going to buy shit to keep buying shit. So
Was there a lot of DLC that turned people off?
I think there was eventually DLC, but I think the game was a turnoff before DLC even became a factor.
Before it even got there.
So not only is it just not at EVO, it's not even going to be at Capcom's own Pro Tour,
Wow.
which is Capcom's fighting game tour, which they have used most recently to largely focus on Street Fighter V.
So their
Now-
tour, they do a circuit at different events worldwide.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's kind of like, at least for Street Fighter V players, I guess you could say,
Like
it's like the second
qualifiers
EVO.
or something. Oh no, it's just another event. That's just a
it's
bit.
another
Okay.
tour. It's very
It's like
it's big.
It's like the World Championships versus the Olympics, sort of thing. where
Well,
it's
and the
just as
Capcom
important.
Pro Tour focuses only on Capcom properties.
Sure, but
Sure.
but for Street Fighter V, if you win that, it's
It's
just
big.
just as prestigious as winning Evo. Street Fighter V.
It's a pretty damn big thing.
Okay,
Um,
that's only been
Now-
existing for a few years now. Okay, 2014.
so it's crazy that Infinite won't be at the Capcom Pro Tour for 2 reasons. One, I mean, Capcom is showing absolutely no faith in the game and is basically abandoning it. But 2, you could get a scene of people playing the game at a Capcom Pro Tour. It's not like there is no fan base. There are people who play it. And for them to release a game that many people considered overpriced and underproduced in September of 2017, have people buy that game, put their time into playing it, practicing, training, perhaps buying DLC, and then not even have a tournament grounds to even play the game on, by the company, by the developer and publishers, not even at their own tour, not even at their own tournament will they have a stage to play this game on. So that's a massive fuck you to fans from Capcom too. You fucked them over by giving them a shitty, incomplete game, and now you're fucking them over, the ones that stayed loyal to you, by not giving them a place to play it.
And the game's only been out for like 16 months. So
September 2017.
oh, it's 2018.
Yeah.
Oh wow, so it's only been out for 4 months. What?
I think.
5 months. September.
Hold on.
October, November, December.
Initial
January.
release, September 19th, 2017.
It's been 4.5 months.
Yep.
Wow.
So, I mean, that's what really gets me.
So they could have had a chance to at least the reward the few people that are actually playing and enjoying this game, because there are some they're not. So what do they replace it with?
Nothing.
Nothing.
As far as I know.
They're, just,
I think this is mostly just Street Fighter 5.
they're going to pretend this game doesn't exist.
Yeah. I mean,
most
and
part.
that's I don't know, that's just that sucks. I mean, it never appealed.
There are less characters. Now,
there's a shitload less.
and this
characters.
is 3-on-3, right?
No, it's 2-on-2.
Two-
It did go back to 2-on-2.
They go back to 2-on-2,
Which
okay.
was something that did appeal to me, actually.
Yeah, with 3 to me was always way confusing. But okay, because I was like saying, if it's 3-on-3, there's not enough characters for 3-on-3. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There's looks like about 35 or so characters. If that's 3-on-3, that's not enough.
Dragon Ball Fighters only has like 21 characters, and it's 3-on-3. It works out.
It works out. It doesn't
Yeah.
get old.
No. I
Okay.
mean, most people settle into their teams right away.
Of course,
Anyways.
you have your few people that you prefer, right?
Yeah.
So okay, so man, calling it to streamline.
So I mean, anyways, yeah. That's what I have to say. About
I'm just
it.
surprised. I didn't see any news about this being like just received terribly.
Oh yeah, no, it was horribly received.
Less stylized art direction. Okay, you commented on that. Mixed to average reviews. Metacritic scores of 72, 72, and 69 for Xbox One, PS4, and Microsoft Windows version, respectively. So the best version on Xbox One, worst on Windows. That's pretty bad then for Marvel's Capcom game, though. If you're looking at like a three star out of 5, that's pretty bad then.
Exactly.
Like that. Interesting.
And you know, it received a lot of the same arguments that a lot of games did. Well, it's for the tournament community. Well, it doesn't matter if anyone else grabs onto it. Well, no, this is
Were people turned off by 2-on-2 versus 3-on-3?
no.
Going
They
backwards?
they were turned off, I think, largely by the graphics, how rushed it seemed, and the initial smallness of the roster when compared to other Marvel versions.
Yeah, when it was gigantic, when you couldn't each guy was like this small, like this, like a
You
stamp
didn't
size.
need a roster that big, but
Like
you know,
70 people.
the Marvel vs. Capcom 3 roster was fun. So, anyways, I mean that's my my statement on it. The good news is by Capcom not having Infinite in Evo, at least it's allowing some other better fighting games to shine that may not normally have gotten a Sunday finalist spot because some sort of Marvel verse was always considered a shoo-in. So now we do have Dragon Ball Fighters as a Sunday finalist. We do have Guilty Gear Xrd Rev 2 as a Sunday finalist. And those are great games. And I mean, those are two of my favorite fighters right now. So I'm very much looking forward to seeing that.
I'm not sure what's the percentage of pro gamers that would focus on only one type of fighting game versus also doing another. So in this case, if I'm a professional Marvel vs. Capcom player, I'm pissed
Yeah.
because there could have been some prize money that was there the year before that's not there anymore for the game I'm specializing in.
For someone who plays a lot of fighting games but is good at none of them, me.
I've seen it. It isn't.
From what I gather, it's like I think a lot of the like big pro players have like one main game that they're really into, and then like one or two side games. So I mean,
It's so disappointing though,
because that's still a large chunk of time practicing.
And there's less incentive to play the game. It's like a feedback loop, negative feedback loop. If there's no prize money, less competitive.
Well, I feel
People
like
get into it, less interest in general.
I
it
feel like
dies
this
out.
is Capcom putting the bullet in the game right here. I feel like all the players who were hoping for something to come out of it once the tournaments came around now have nothing to look at, and they're just like, okay, well, I got to pick up something else.
Was it that broken that they couldn't even update patch this bitch to the point where it would be respectable?
From what I understand, it wasn't even the mechanics that were that awful. It was the fact that it was Capcom's attitude towards the game. It was how Capcom released it. It was how Capcom interacted with the fans. It was how they basically served up a shell of nothing, and you basically got essentially a fighter select screen and go.
Nice. Very nice. Okay, well, Capcom, hopefully Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite 2 Dark Rising will be better well received. With Fantastic Four, hopefully, and X-Men characters when you buy out 20th Century Fox, hopefully later this year.
Yeah.
So I can see that Fantastic Four movie. Ian, we discuss Jim Sterling from time to time. He's the video game, I would say, current events commentator. Is that accurate? And,
Sure.
And he had a video, 22 minutes long, made some great points about the state of AAA games and the pricing structure.
Okay.
Now, it was a little long-winded, not going to lie. Maybe could have cut off about 8 or so minutes, 22 minutes, maybe 10 minutes or 12 would have been fine. But he brought up some arguments about the state of AAA titles, obviously DLC, ballooning the overall cost from $60 to who knows, $80, $100. Season passes, DLC, loot boxes. Obviously, this has helped sour the AAA market, or at least the outlook of it to people like us
Yeah.
who are around the games. So he argues in this video, if you haven't seen it out there, that AAA games should really cost $0 because they're making a lot of money off of DLC and season passes, obviously, and loot boxes already, that they're going to make their money. He also references a couple of articles. I think one was someone from EA in 2009 saying games should really cost $30. He referenced one or two other developers saying, yeah, other games should cost more money. Other games should cost less money, but ours should cost this much, and this is why. So just throwing out anecdotes like that about game costs. The other argument he makes that I kind of see his point is like, okay, if you come from the stance of that, if game companies need to make their profit margin, they should just raise the price up, then, start the games now coming out at $80 instead of $60. And he argues that game companies would do both because they're greedy and they try to make all the profit because they're publicly traded companies, and that's what they're set out to do, is make as much profit as possible. That companies would not change their DLC ways and season pass ways if they started at a base price of higher, whether it's $70, $80, $90. They would do that and still have the DLC and still have the loot boxes and still have all the garbage that we complain about today that Star Wars Battlefront 2 pulled off. It was an interesting take. I agree with some of his points. I don't agree with others about it. What I think the points he missed out upon that we can discuss is that this is not the video game history from 20 years ago or 25 years ago or even 10, 15 years ago,
Right.
where games have become more and more prohibitively expensive to produce. When we talk about a game like GTA 5 that makes a ton of money, or a Call of Duty game, we're talking about games that have budgets of Hollywood motion pictures. A lot of these games that take 4 years to develop, that have hundreds of people working on them at one time. We're not in the era of Super Nintendo games anymore, or even PlayStation 1 games, where, yeah, there might be a less reward, they're making less money, but there's a lot less risk involved. So that's why these companies have gone away from single-player game experiences for a while. For example, because some see it as very risky. That's why we saw a cancellation of a single-player Star Wars game, because rightly or wrongly, they probably said this isn't going to make us the money of a game like Battlefront 2, where we can have loot boxes and
Well, that
DLC.
was they canceled the single player game to basically make a Star Wars Destiny game.
Exactly. It's because single player games they think can't make money, which I don't agree with, but that's the stance. They're not going to make as much money. So we have to think about that when we talk about pricing of games, is that at least these AAA titles, these major ones, cost a hell of a lot more than they used to. They are riskier. Absolutely. But we never talk about inflation ever when we talk about video game prices.
True.
We sort of put that in the back of our heads, that $60 from 20 years ago is a hell of a lot more than $60 today. So games have actually gotten for us cheaper over the years.
Yeah, I mean, I remember PlayStation 1 titles towards the end were regularly about $49.99 new, and then we started moving into about the regular. I would say games were regularly $59.99 throughout the Xbox 360 and PS3, when Wii games were still $49.99, and then now that we're in. Once we were in Wii U, PS4, Xbox One, Switch territory, now all base prices are $60.
Sure.
As far as
I'm just talking about what the dollars were.
Oh yeah, no, yes.
So okay, so for 1985, the dollar was let's see, the price difference was, so it was worth 25% more, the dollar in 1985. So that means if you had a $60 game in 1985, let's see, what does that come out to? Calculate that out. So $60 in 1985 was $76, right?
Mm-hmm.
In today's dollars. In 95, let's see, the price difference. Okay. I'm sorry, I had this off. Okay, $60 in 95 is worth $96 today. So that's more than 50% more
Sure.
from 20 years ago.
Right.
And even 10 years ago, let's look at 10 years ago. So I'll forget the 85. We'll just deal with 20 years ago and 10. So let's see. $75. $60 in 2005 was worth $75. So as you can see, as Ian says, that even when he brings up those prices, the $60 went a lot further overall then. We just didn't realize it. So when you actually look at the power of the dollar, it's decreased and decreased, and that's what inflation is. So really, the $60 game from 20 years ago really cost us today $40. We just don't see that happening.
Right.
People make more money than they did 20 years ago. People that are developing these games and working on these games have to make more money to live. Living prices, it increases. The cost of living, housing, food, whatever, gasoline even to drive to work. So that was ignored in Jim Sterling's video. And that's not excusing DLC at all.
No,
but
that's
you have
just
to
a
bring that
separate
point
thing that
up.
people have to bring up, and I've had to bring that up with people at the store before too, just in friendly conversation, et cetera, et cetera. It's come up, and this is spiraling away a little bit from the DLC, but people always go, man, video games are so much more expensive now than they were when we were kids. And a lot of these were people who weren't having their first video games. They weren't buying them for themselves. It was mom and dad. And it's like,
No, they were expensive.
it's like they're not. I'm like, here's a receipt for brand new, because I mean, they come in boxes, more frequently than you'd think. Here's a Mario Kart 64, brand new, $74.99 in 1998. Okay.
I paid $80 at the Capcom store for Street Fighter 2 on Super Nintendo.
Yeah.
$80 in, what was that, 92?
Right.
It's a ton of money. We'll use my calculator.
So, right, I'm just saying that in terms of video game prices, yes, I agree with the inflation that, it probably has become better for the base game.
That was $140. My $80 would be worth today. I paid $140 for a pretty good translation of Street Fighter 2 on the Super Nintendo at Capcom store. So that's a lot of money for a fucking 12-year-old thing.
Yeah, it is. So, yeah, I mean, just getting that out of the way, I think the base price of games is not nearly as drastically expensive as people think it is when you take into account what the price of video games has been over the years. With DLC, I agree with Jim that even if the base price of games was higher, they would
take that profit too.
They would take that profit too, and they would probably still do DLC. That doesn't stop me from wishing that, and this kind of spirals off onto a question that someone said, do you think AAA games will ever be more than the base 60? Someone asked us, Mark Musso. I kind of wish we would see a time where a base game price does not exist.
Or a general, you're saying slide it up and down.
Yeah.
How it used to exist on the NES. In the
Sure.
NES, you had budget titles like the black box games when they came out. They were $25, $30. Then you had your Super Mario 3s were like $40 to $50. But you even had your Koei games that had more chips in them, and those were like $60, $70 even on the NES.
Well, and I mean, that is part of the manufacturing cost that we don't have to worry about today with CDs.
But there is a
or
cost
DVDs.
going
Yeah,
into the game
yes,
either way.
Right. What I would love is, because it would be so much better for me, is stop trying to sell me a base version as a full game. Sure. Have the balls to charge what you think your fucking game is worth with everything in there.
With all the potential DLC,
Yeah.
everything.
Yeah, I don't care if you're going to trickle that out to me later. Make that a promise. Say, this is what's coming out later. This is what you're getting up front. But just charge me for the whole fucking game.
So you'd be okay spending $85 or $90 if you knew, okay, this is it. I'm getting the full, complete package. Just like if you're buying pinball machines, you're getting the quote-unquote limited or competitive edition that has everything. All the toys, all the trinkets,
Right.
everything.
And I realize that may not be how a lot of people want to do it, but to me, it would make me a lot happier psychologically, and it would be, I just want to know the price of what I'm paying for. Essentially, like when I make a decision to purchase a fairly big game these days, like a AAA game or something that would likely have DLC and stuff, I make my decision based on whether or not I'm getting the stuff, the season pass. I don't want to have to worry about all that shit later on. I don't want to. It's that feeling that the game's going to be out of date. And then if a game is worth less than 60, then don't charge $60 for it. Nintendo is good with that. They will oftentimes shave $10 off of a Switch game if they don't feel like it's worth the full release price. A lot of the physical releases of indie games, aren't being, they're not charging $60 for, limited run charges, like 30, I think, for most of their releases, if not all of them, except for maybe some special edition ones. That's incredibly reasonable. There are places. You look at the PC Steam marketplace. That's a perfect example of people just charge what they feel the game is worth. And I wish that's what would happen with modern console gaming or AAA titles in general, is stop feeling like you have to charge 60 and then tack all this other stuff on when you could just pitch me your game with everything in it instead of trying to have to tell me what you're parceling out, and just be like, this is what you're getting for 100.
Sure. I think the other argument I would just make about people complaining about the DLC or loot box or whatever season passes, because let's be honest, this is a large revenue stream now that a company is not going to give, a publicly traded company especially, is not going to say, oh yeah, we're making $50 million a year off of this, let's just throw it away, we're not going to make it anymore. No, it's going to stay here. But the consumer has a choice not to buy those games.
Yeah.
If they don't want. There's tons of video games out there. If you don't like how Battlefront 2 did business, don't buy a future Battlefront game. Don't buy an EA game and vote with your wallet. There's still plenty of games out there in the digital sea.
Don't buy the current Battlefront 2 and be like, oh, I guess I'll give it a chance, if you're already pretty much dead set on the fact that you hate it.
Because obviously they didn't put a dent. It made the top 10 list still.
Yeah.
So people that raged online, you really didn't affect it, or like you said, you bought it anyway. And you fed into that ecosystem that you claim to hate. So that's all. It's not going away. To say, though, games should cost nothing is obviously silly, because then what happens when you don't sell the game or you take the risk? Guess what? That game company's gone, DLC or not.
Right.
So let's be reasonable here. Let's not throw the baby out with the bathwater. There.
All right. We have a very special
Scumbag
seller of the week.
Ian, who is our scumbag seller of the week?
Hold on.
The first one at Castle Country. What's their eBay? What's their eBay name? Seller name?
eBay.com.
eBay.com?
eBay.com. In their new reproduction video game manuals, inserts, and box art section.
They have a category now on eBay for reproduction manuals, inserts, and box art. Okay. There's a few things you know about us on the CU podcast. We know that Ian likes to, he likes to tease me from time to time. We do like a game called Danny Sullivan's Indie Heat. I've seen that rumored about from time to time.
It's true.
But we also like talking about counterfeit games, counterfeit manuals, and counterfeit inserts.
That's right.
And how they always pop up on eBay. So it was always strange to me how, not many ever gotten taken down. I would say half of our scumbags of the week have been repro manuals, or a chunk of them.
Sure.
Besides crappy ass modern all-in-one game consoles. But eBay must be seeing that they're making so much money off of this that in their infinite wisdom of not probably consulting any other corporate lawyers, they thought we can get away with selling what amounts to counterfeit art on our website with its own category.
This is just...
it's insane. We have the reproduction case of Pokemon Heart Gold replacement case, Pokemon Platinum version replacement case, Zelda Minish Cap Game Boy Advance replacement case. On the front page, Super Smash Bros. Melee GameCube custom replacement case. These aren't custom. These are the same art being used as the original release.
Yeah.
So unless these individual sellers have the copyright for this artwork, they cannot legally reproduce and sell them. So the fact that eBay not only is turning a blind eye to it, but now
embracing it,
tacitly embracing it by having its own category, is pretty disgusting.
Doom 2 GBA Game Boy Advance replacement case and artwork.
Mario Kart Double Dash, Metroid Fusion,
Oh, no,
Contra 4. A lot of Nintendo consoles. The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time GameCube custom case, the one that was the 2-pack, that's on here. I mean, it's Alundra 2 for PS1. This is mind-blowing to me.
It's interesting that for some of these things, they seem to be dodging around it. Like, I haven't found any Game Boy Advance reproduction boxes. I'm finding reproduction cases, and I'm wondering if that's eBay's way of doing it. Meaning, it's not a cardboard box. It's the artwork, but slipped into like a snap case box.
Do they have a deal with the seller? Because when I click on all these are for the most part Coast Books 100.
Yeah, they all
which
look
is
like
a
the
top
same.
rated plus seller with over 7,400 feedback. So did they go to eBay and ask for this? Did eBay come to them and ask for this? Oh, and here are the replacement labels now. Here's a Run Saber Super Nintendo reproduction label by another game seller. So there's a lot of stuff going on here. That was Next Level Games WA.
Oh, here we go. A straight up reproduction Metal Warriors cardboard box.
Just straight up.
Just straight up Metal Warriors reproduction cardboard box. So it's not like a plastic case or anything like that. It's just, here we are. AJ Collectibles selling reproduction cardboard boxes.
All right. This is very problematic, obviously.
This is absurd.
Pokemon White version 2. You think Nintendo knows about this? You think Nintendo would be happy to know that eBay has an entire now reproduction section on their website?
For labels like Super Mario RPG reproduction labels.
You think Warner Brothers would be happy, and people behind Lego, that a Lego Batman Xbox 360 custom case and artwork exists?
I don't.
Who would even buy that? You can buy the game for that much.
Yeah, exactly.
At that point.
Yeah, some of this stuff is
Donkey Kong GBA Game Boy replacement case. I don't know. Where do you turn from here? I mean, you have them turning a blind eye, and now they're saying, okay,
and now
we're promoting it.
And underneath these, you can get reproduction Game & Watch tabletop manuals. That's not good to begin with, but they don't even say repro in the listing. Yet
I don't see that one.
I jumped all the way to page.
Let me see that one.
So page. I think I'm on page 13.
13. Let me see if I can find that.
And then scroll down and you'll see two. There's Popeye tabletop and Mario's Cement Factory tabletop, both selling for $22.99. They do not say repro in the description. You actually have to click on them to go in and see the repro.
There they are. Oh, that's brilliant.
Paper stock and print color matches the original booklet.
Oh, isn't that fun?
You won't be able to tell the difference.
That's from seller Kel SC or Kel SC. Great. You know what's also that's great on all these pages? There is a tell us what you think link on the bottom of all these. So why don't you, if you like this, or you're neutral or you can be dissatisfied, why don't you tell eBay about your experience on this, on the section of reproduction video game manuals, inserts, and box art. So then maybe at one point, eBay, you will no longer be the scumbag seller of the week if you come to your senses and or before you get sued by, I don't know, Nintendo or another company for reproducing their artwork blatantly and selling it for $11, and promoting it on your site freely. Because this is like a whole Napster thing now where you can't just say, well, we're just letting people use our system. Now you acknowledged it with the own section. This is insane to me.
Yeah.
This is the most insane scumbag seller of the week I think we have had.
Yeah.
A major corporation doing something blatantly illegal.
When it was, yeah. Yeah, the further
I'm almost
you go.
baffled that this got someone might get fired over this for letting this happen and not talking to corporate. Because if I'm a corporate lawyer at eBay, I'm like, you're fired for even bringing up this, for even talking about this.
Yeah.
Let alone doing this.
You're fired
on the site.
for being dumb. Yeah, once you get into the labels and the boxes, that's where I lose it. It's like, okay, once you're actually reproducing boxes and labels, done.
And manuals, yeah. Okay. All right, that's fun. Ian, you've had fun with Uten Football League, haven't you? We talked about this on the podcast a while ago, right? The Kickstarter?
Yeah.
A long time ago.
So I was pretty excited to get a chance to test this out finally. So it came out in October, but I think it finally just got its PlayStation 4 release just a few weeks ago, actually. I saw it one night. It had just popped up, and I was like, yeah, okay, $20 price point seems like a good gamble on arcade football. I like arcade football.
You enjoyed the original?
I did like the original. I liked Mutant League Hockey more, but I liked both. So this was done by I lost it. I think Digital Dreams. I think Digital Dreams is the name of the company that did this one, and it's a spiritual successor to it. Hopefully, we'll see more. And
Spiritual successor or successor, since it has the same name.
It's Mutant League Football as opposed to this is Mutant Football League. The other was
Are you
Mutant
serious?
League Football.
They got away with that change for the trademark by switching it out.
Yeah,
It's not Coca-Cola. It's Cola Coca.
which makes it closer, by the way, to the NFL, which I find even funnier.
NFL. That's wow. Okay, I can't believe they got away with that.
Yep.
Wow. Okay.
So, anyways, one of its selling points, I think, is the fact that it has Tim Kitzrow in the announcer's chair.
The NBA Jam announcer.
The NBA Jam announcer who goes by Grim Blitzero in the game.
That's pretty funny. Okay. I'll give him that. Give him that.
There's like 16 teams to pick from.
Okay. That's
So
a good amount.
that's actually
a pretty good amount for a game like this.
pretty good amount. Graphics are decent, but the gameplay is a lot of fun. It's really fast. It reminds me a lot of Blitz.
Blitz, but it's vertical down the field.
Well, Blitz was vertical too.
Am I confusing that with
Yes.
the side?
Something.
What the hell was the other one?
I don't know. High impact.
High impact football. I'm confused with the high impact
Okay,
football.
yeah, I got
with
it.
the one big button.
Yeah. So it's easy to pick up. You know, you've got two sets of basic plays, each containing run and passing.
Sure.
You've got 3 buttons for passing, 1 to throw it away. You got your run button. You can spin off. You can do a stiff arm. You can dive or do normal tackles. You can call audibles and all that sort of stuff. And the play fields, are littered with mines. Some have buzzsaws that will go racing across, certain yard lines. There's worms and stuff, like giant worms that can jump out.
Tremors worms?
Yeah, there's like Tremors worms that will like leap
All right, that's
out
cool.
and like
That's really cool.
eat other players and dive back down into the field. And then there's dirty tricks is what they call the special plays in this, and each team gets 2 offensive and 2 defensive ones, and they can use them, I believe, once per half, along with bribing the ref. And it's a lot of fun. There's a lot of variety in them. Some of the offensive, special plays you can use. Give your running back a buzzsaw, so anytime he attempts to get blocked, you can kill the other players or injure them, and you get like 8 swipes with the buzzsaw. You can pass gas so that anyone that you run past, is clouded in noxious fumes. On defense, you can swap the opposing quarterback's ball with a time bomb so that it blows up the receiver that catches it or blows up the quarterback. And it's really fast and fun and easy to play. It plays better the faster you play it. You get speed settings to play it on, and it's more arcadey the faster you go. You can set the quarters, short or long. And it's a really good time. The announcing it's funny because it's very well done and the banter is like kind of quick. It's not really it's not my like favorite type of humor, but it is kind of funny.
Okay.
And it goes with what you're seeing on screen.
Okay.
I mean, it's funny. They say some surprisingly racy stuff. Like when you hear Tim Kitzrow say "fuck" for the first time, you're like, "Oh, okay,
Wow.
that's
oh,
weird."
no. That's racy.
Well,
I mean,
no, but like
it's a
there's
violent, gory game. I don't mind having a little language.
no, neither
there.
do I. It's just it's interesting because there's actually a language option to turn the language on or off, and when you turn it on, it really does kind of amp up the language.
Is it like NBA Jam? There's like 40 different things that are said.
There's a few more than that, yeah. So
From downtown.
it's a lot of fun. It does have some problems. It doesn't have a lot of modes. It's got like exhibition, a Super Bowl type mode, which
Is there a season?
There's a season where you just run through the different player
All right.
teams, and then you do the playoffs and stuff. Basically, all the modes that you can jump in at different points in the season. So you can do playoffs, you can do straight to the Super Bowl.
Playoffs?
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 Talking about playoffs?
And it is cool because, if all of your quarterbacks get killed or certain defenders get killed, you just have to forfeit the game.
That's awesome. So I like that. So you have to keep them healthy?
So you have to keep them healthy and constantly rotate your lines to let them heal up. And it's not just winning the game by points. If you actually decimate the team badly enough, they just can't keep playing. So for $20, it's a lot of fun. They are promising online leagues later in a couple of months.
You think so?
You can play online right now.
The Kickstarter only had about 3,100 backers. I'm guessing it did a little bit better once it actually was released.
The Kickstarter failed, but
Well, it didn't
felt-
fail. It didn't look like it. It looked like it raised the money, but did it fail?
It said it failed, or at least the first Kickstarter failed when I was reading about it.
Let me
Either
see.
way, enough people had enough faith in it to back it up, and it got released, and it's getting
Oh,
good.
it didn't fail.
Oh.
It raised $138,000
Oh, okay. Well,
in February 2017.
the only thing is and I noticed this with games made on Unity, like some of the big hits, some of the collisions, some of the impact, it just doesn't feel as like
Weighty.
yeah, it doesn't have like there's not as much weight behind it as I would like. But I would say if you're at all curious and you like arcade football and you're into that, the weird plays and stuff, I think $20 is a really reasonable price for it. But there's an argument to be made for waiting for it to go on sale.
Yeah, this to me looks like a budget title in terms of. You say it's
Oh,
$20 is fine.
Yeah, it is. I mean,
It's not a $50 game though.
no, it's not. And like I said, with the lack of
1 to 4 players. All right.
the lack of play style, with the lack of modes and stuff, I think it's priced about right. And I think anyone who might want to sit on the fence, if it hit 15, I'd say it's pretty much a
Okay,
good snap.
this is amusing. It's almost like remember those baseball cards with the different demon characters? They had personalities and stuff.
Yeah. They use like fake names.
Rob Gronkowski,
Yeah.
the Shermanator.
Wham Neutron was my favorite one from the other day instead of Cam Newton.
What was it? Wham Neutron?
Wham
they're
Neutron.
clever with the star
yeah,
players.
and like instead of the Philadelphia Eagles, it's like,
Hambonio Crown instead of Antonio Brown. That's funny. And it has his hair still. It
Yeah.
has his weird
Yep.
cube hair.
there's a lot of like cuteness and charm to it. The team names for the most parts are plays off of real team names. Like it's the
There's orcs.
Philadelphia
Fox.
Evils, the I can't remember.
All right, you sold me, Ian. You sold everyone on
It's
this.
fun.
Here. You sold everyone on this.
Hey, like I said, it's got its issues, but it's a shitload of fun.
Give us the hard sell now on Mutant Football League, not to be confused with Mutant League Football. Somehow it's the same thing.
It's really hard to find an online game. If anyone wants to play online, let me know.
Aw. Ian,
Sir.
we have another Twin Galaxies update.
Oh, yeah.
We spoke about the issues with
Sure
Todd
do.
Rogers and Dragsters.
We predicted that there was going to be many mighty falls.
I don't know about that. I said in particular, maybe people are going to look into some of these decades old, not even decades old in this case, Twin Galaxies records even more. And I even said specifically, maybe someone looks into Billy Mitchell. And I just threw that name out there just because that's the
They're
first and
all
only one I knew.
Going down.
So what happened literally right after the podcast? Not because of us. This was in motion.
Yeah.
But so there was a Billy Mitchell set of scores that he claimed were done on a real arcade machine.
Were actually done by emulation through analysis of the screens and how the screen puts together the image.
Emulate on MAME. So that brings into issue some factors, because if you don't see someone playing a MAME run live, you can fake runs by piecing them together. You can do that. So that's why if you submit a MAME score, you really have to be doing it either live in front of someone or someone's got to witness that and be reliable. And it sounds like in this case that didn't really happen. There's not really records of this happening. And besides that, Billy Mitchell even himself has said that MAME doesn't count. He said that himself. He said that real arcade machine boards. So even by his own standards, something's going on here. So
One of those guys.
So we have, let's see, the allegation was 3 of his scores, 1.047 million, which was the tape from King of Kong. So there's some backstory from that. A 1.05 million score and a 1.06 million score achieved at the Boomers Arcade close to Mitchell's home were captured on a PC running MAME rather than a traditional arcade machine. There's a separate leaderboard for MAME scores, and the emulator is more susceptible to cheating, such as splicing together multiple playthroughs. Like I said, you can get away with that. Like on like any other emulator, you can trick it with save states and other things, and I think some of that's even built in the MAME that you can splice together by recording. Yeah, you can do recording on MAME.
Yes.
And then you can go backwards and backtrack and record forward. So, which I've never done, but these things exist. Damn dirty emulation. All right, so there was sleuths on the Twin Galaxies boards and Donkey Kong boards that put this together. Like,
Do we have to buy them sandwiches?
I'm
now,
not
too?
sure about that. Maybe
Okay.
maybe a mozzarella stick or two. Maybe an app. We'll get him an app.
An app.
You like the mozzarella sticks? You referenced that. But they figured this out by looking at the playback and the ordering of the graphical images displaying on screen.
Right.
And it is different on MAME versus a traditional CRT monitor and a traditional arcade ROM using the real machinery. So that's really interesting in this, that this got to that point. So there was Billy Mitchell didn't really talk about it much until he went on the Eastside Dave podcast. And Eastside Dave is a talent that used to be on the Ron and Fez show. I used to listen to that show when it existed. And he sort of beat around the bush when it came to that issue. He's not really admitting any fault when it comes to this.
Right.
So, it is what it is. At this point, these scores are stricken from the record now, or as they should be.
Yes. And I don't know. I mean, it would.
Are you shocked?
No, I'm not. I'm not really shocked about anything that's coming to light about this as of right now. I don't know why anyone would want to be associated with Twin Galaxies at the moment. I don't.
And he's declined to speak with anyone else that's asking about this, Billy Mitchell.
Yep. And then he was supposed to be, or shit, Mitchell did not pick up. Yeah. So none of this really surprises me. And like I said, we talked a little bit about it. I feel like basically any score from a certain point on backwards really at this point has to be questioned. And I almost, and call me drastic, but it's just fucking video game scores, people. Just raise it to the ground and start over. I mean,
raise any that don't have any current evidence.
Yeah.
Eliminate
if there's
them.
no current evidence, just
If there's no current evidence,
dump it.
and there's even a speck of maybe a glimmer of, okay, this could be incorrect or wrong, or especially if the person associated with it, get rid of it. You're right. Wipe it clean.
Wipe it clean. And I see this as being I see that as being a positive thing for a reason or two. One, if they do that and they do it quick enough, Twin Galaxies can regain some bit of can slowly regain their clout and respectability. Two, with all those scores cleared that have no evidence, it gives a lot of people an interesting time to jump into trying to set high scores on their games, and you may even see a revitalization in that. So you can clear your name, kind of prevent this sort of shit from cropping up again, and only using, the live recorded evidence, and maybe get more people back into this, and maybe give it a better name.
Yeah, so there's some drama going on with this. So, okay, this is from the GameSpot article. Summarizes 2 of the original tapes, the 1.04 and 1.05 million tapes, were uploaded to YouTube by a man named Dwayne Richard before they were ever turned over to Twin Galaxies. Richard appeared in The King of Kong, but he was also involved in the creation of 2 post-documentaries, The King of Kong, which purports that Mitchell received payoffs from the King of Kong filmmakers, wow,
Okay.
and The Perfect Fraud Man, which questions Mitchell's claim of having the first perfect Pac-Man game. Richie Knuckles characterizes Richard as someone with an axe to grind against Mitchell. And he proposes that this bias, any suspicion of doctored or altered footage, can be eliminated by simply cutting Richard out of the equation. Knuckles reasons that if the critics can watch the original tapes, the ones Richard turned over to Twin Galaxies, rather than Richard's uploads, they would be fairer. But there's no tapes that we can find right now. They can't find them. That's the problem.
This always seems to be what happens when
convenient.
when they need to conveniently find these things that, you know, contain any sort of proof that it's gone.
Oh, okay. Our Twin Galaxies referee said he reached out to me and said I stole the original copy. If it'll help Bill in any way, I can send it to you. So maybe there is a tape. Maybe one of these scores is good.
Maybe someone is screwing around with Billy Mitchell. I mean, here's this. Knuckles recalls an incident from years ago when Richard asked Knuckles for help in faking MAME footage. He also repeated this anecdote on a Facebook account, which we've lightly edited for grammar and spelling. I remember it well. I was in the parking lot of a Walmart when Richard called and asked me to participate in a MAME Donkey Kong ruse, in his exact words, to put egg on Twin Galaxy's face. I told him I was not interested.
So this Knuckles guy is saying that this guy was out for Billy Mitchell has an axe to grind in general with Twin Galaxies, but maybe that guy with the axe to grind has a reason to want to grind that axe because maybe he's seen some cheating going on and realizes there's some bad shit happening.
I don't know. This
is
whole
all-
shit is just fucking insane.
It's so stupid.
It's so dumb at the end of the day.
I understand if it's your brand to be the best classic arcade game player and have the Pac-Man high scores, Donkey Kong. Holy shit. Is there a lot of money at stake here that I don't know about? Am I in the wrong business?
I don't know.
Should I start being the best at Centipede or Dig Dug to get my name out there? Can I do that?
These
at this point?
all I know is that these egos must be as fragile as fucking.
Oh, there is
soap bubbles.
as fragile as this table after a couple other podcasts, most likely, or my ego. This is just so much drama. It's almost getting too much into the weeds now, in my opinion, when it comes to this stuff. Because we're talking about these scores that are off from each other like 30,000, 40,000 points. But yeah, you're almost right. It's like going forward, you know, almost like let's just wipe it clean. Let's have a 4-day Donkey Kong event where all the big players come out and play them all live. We'll do it live.
We'll do it
just
live.
Fucking
Yeah.
play them all in front of people, and that's it. We'll establish a new fucking leaderboard from scratch. Besides the ones that, like the real high score that the guy put a fucking camera up, filmed himself, then with it still running, film the board inside. So okay, this is real. It happened. Here's the actual board.
Right.
It's real hardware. There's no chance of any sort of bullshit going on unless this guy has a fucking Hollywood CG budget. There's no way it could have happened.
Sure.
So I'm sure there's gonna be more bad shit that comes out with this. I'm absolutely certain this isn't the end for Mitchell, or other MC3K, or other sort of people involved with this stuff. So anything else to add besides what's the classic arcade game? You want to go up for the top score in Tapper?
No, I want the high score in City Connection.
In City Connection, no one's interested in playing that, so you can probably get it within a minute.
Not true.
Doing that. Not true. Ian, for Valentine's Day, you're gonna have fun with your beloved wife Bonnie, right?
That's gonna be great.
Oh, I'm gonna be alone.
I'm sorry.
I'm gonna be very alone. But you know what's out there? There's stuff like eHarmony.
That's right.
To help you find a date, to find a potential loved one. So if you're trying online dating, chances are you run into lazy text messages or people you text and they'll get back to you like a week later. That's always fun. Conversations that go absolutely nowhere. That's always great. And random matches that don't turn into dates. It's like, oh yeah, I like rock climbing. Yeah, well, I like staying home and reading about cats. May not work out all the time. Maybe, but not all the time. And you can't get to know someone by looking at their picture. You can say, oh, they have nice teeth, but I don't know what's going on elsewhere. So eHarmony helps with all that. They take steps that other dating sites don't in order to find a more compatible match. Built to help you find lasting, meaningful relationships, not just a shallow hookup. We're getting older. We want more than just, sucking face. Let's be reasonable about it here. They've helped over 1 million people find their perfect match.
Maybe a nice quiet night.
Quiet night in, reading a book. Mm-hmm. Maybe, you can make out later. They use years and years of science data and psychological research to send you the right match. They do the work for you, so you don't have to do the guessing. And it brings compatible people together. Right now, you guys, because we love you for Valentine's Day, you can get a free month with eHarmony when you sign up for a 3-month subscription. So you get that first month free if you do 3 months. So you enter our code CU Podcast at checkout. So what's great about that is that when you find your beloved this Valentine's Day season, you'll think of Ian and I the entire time. You'll thank us and eHarmony. You absolutely will, right? So again, you go to eHarmony.com. When you check out, enter the code CU Podcast, and you'll get a free month with your 3-month subscription. And maybe you'll find a loved one that will last until the next Valentine's Day.
Or beyond.
Or hopefully beyond. But hey, we'll baby steps here with the internet dating. We'll see where we are in a year from now.
Right. Yeah.
All right, Ian. We're gonna do something. Try something out new in the studio here.
Yes.
This is good. This is primitive tech, but we're gonna get there eventually. This is the soft relaunch. We have the obscenely expensive CU Podcastron 2000, which we can use to view stuff on here. So there's a trailer that came out for a movie that is intriguing that they're making it by Sony. It's called Venom.
Venom.
You want to see what it's about?
Let's see what it's about.
Let's watch. Okay, Ian, that was the teaser for a movie that was called Venom.
I got nothing from that teaser trailer whatsoever.
That was my tweet at the time, Ian, was that it was the most Sony trailer or teaser possible.
Yeah,
Or
I
so-
would agree.
So incredibly Sony that was. As you bring up a biscuit on there, I don't know what you're doing.
I'm just trying to escape this.
You could have just kept the Venom on instead of the biscuit, but we'll leave the biscuit on.
Okay, well, here's
Okay.
a biscuit. So, that was incredibly Sony. It didn't really say much of anything about the film.
You had a random car crash. Every Sony movie has that.
Yep.
You have the same sound effects. That beep sound that is in every movie. First of all, every Sony movie has that beeping sound effect. Beep, 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 beep. It's like stock.
Yeah.
So we saw what was like a crash of some sort of a spacecraft, maybe, and that's maybe where some sort of alien creature comes out and
And then we had a man lying in a hospital. That man was
walking on the street.
Is that the man who?
It was beefy Tom Hardy in the role.
Is that the guy who plays
Bane,
Bane? That's it. Yeah.
Mad Max,
Yeah. Okay. Gotcha.
Mel Gibson's son or something. I don't know. But anyway, here's the point, Ian. If there was no Marvel thing in front of that to associate with the Marvel comic book thingy, I would have no fucking clue what I just watched.
No,
Like, absolutely not.
If you
Like,
had,
none.
if you had taken away the Venom thing and the Marvel thing, I couldn't even told you it was going to
So-
be a superhero movie.
And I see the argument that, well, guys, this is a teaser. So it's a tease. It didn't tease.
Yeah.
It didn't do anything.
No.
I'm not teased. I don't feel emotion at all. I'm not happy, sad. I'm not indifferent. I'm nothing. I'm absolutely nothing.
Yeah, I don't feel.
That's
anything.
why it's so Sony, because there was no reason to put out a teaser if there was nothing to show what the movie's really about there.
Yeah. I feel more about, I don't know, anything in this room.
All the Sterilite containers with overpriced games in them.
I feel emotions over that.
Okay, here's the deal, Ian. Here's the thing.
Yeah.
So Sony is doing this. This is not Marvel Studios. This is Sony.
Yeah.
Homecoming was Marvel in co-production. No, it was Marvel Studios that did Homecoming, with Sony making money off of it. This is just Sony saying, okay, we have Venom. We can do a Venom movie if you want. We can do a Spider-Gwen movie. We can do a Silver Sable movie that 4 people will see. We can do a Black Cat movie. This is the things that they planned before. We can do it.
Right.
We can do a Sinister Six movie that will bomb terribly before the deal happened with Marvel Studios that gets Spider-Man back in the fold. But they still said we want to do a Venom movie, and Marvel Studios is like, really? You want to do that? Okay. We can't do anything about it, but all right. Okay. Venom is, to me, a semi-interesting character, all right? He's a doppelganger character that originally I thought was far more interesting when McFarlane did the original run from 300 to, what was it, 329 or 328, whatever that was.
Sure.
320 something. Because that was before he had the big spiky teeth, before he had all the green slime going all over him. He only had a few appearances. It was 300 and then 14 and 15. He was still semi-normal then. He was just a twisted, fucked up version of Spider-Man at that point. I have some Spider-Man Venom cred here. I can name you his first appearance, his first cameo. I own the comics. Okay,
Can you name his first kiss?
First kiss? No, I can't do. I don't know who Eddie first kissed. I don't know. Maybe he had a girlfriend living down the way. I know the backstory here. I know that Eddie Brock was humiliated by Spider-Man, who revealed the story to be false, and then obviously the symbiote, who was with Spider-Man for a few years before he left him, wanted to get back at Spider-Man as well. So that all made sense. So the interesting thing about Venom is his association to Spider-Man. That's what's interesting about Venom. And that's really all that's interesting about Venom. When Venom is by himself,
Right.
he's not that interesting.
He's a fantastic foil.
Yes. So doing a movie where they can't, probably without Marvel Studios' permission, or really reference Spider-Man or hook in the origin to Spider-Man, is anyone interested in that?
No.
This is not 95 anymore.
Right.
Venom is not a hot character to trot out.
No. Not without.
I'm sorry, 45-year-olds out there. No one gives a shit about Venom.
Yeah, it doesn't.
No one.
It doesn't make any sense without other supporting, prominent, relevant characters. Yeah.
I think the rumor was they're gonna base it on the miniseries where he goes to San Francisco, which I fucking own, and I forget what happens because it's not interesting. When he becomes a good guy, he becomes an anti-hero. When he goes to the West Coast, what the hell is that called? They had the red fucking foil cover on it. I own it. It's
Maximum Carnage.
not that piece of shit. Don't get Carnage is fucking garbage. And anyone out there, don't at me. Carnage is garbage. I'll come halfway for Venom. I'm not coming there with Carnage or any other fucking symbiote runoffs. But a Lethal Protector, Venom Lethal Protector. Was that the one where he goes to San Francisco? Venom Lethal Protector. Was that the one I have the foil comic of? Yes, that's the one. I own that comic. I bought those comics. I have cred when it comes to this. And yes, he has the green fucking slime saliva. They made him worse. Originally he didn't have that. Originally he had the weird, creepy symbiote smile.
Yeah.
He was a lot creepier, the original McFarlane Venom to me, as that. So that's what it's supposed to be based on, Venom Lethal Protector. Except that, I don't know. Unless they can somehow do a flashback scene showing the Spider-Man stuff that wasn't in Spider-Man 3 with Tobey Maguire as being part of the origin, there's no reason for Venom to exist without Spider-Man, because the only reason Venom exists is because he was a symbiote with Spider-Man and Peter Parker. That's why he looks like Spider-Man.
Yes.
How are they going to do this?
How are they going to explain this one?
So I'm actually interested in this now. The more I think about it, how are they going to pull this off? Having another superhero that acts just like Spider-Man, has the same powers as Spider-Man, without being Spider-Man or having association with Spider-Man. Is he going to be bitten by a radioactive symbiote spider? Eddie Brock?
I don't know, man.
I'm just spinning my webs here, Ian. You got to help me out. here.
I have nothing to say about the Venom movie other than I'm looking here for some interesting Venom facts.
Is there anything interesting from Venom after 92? Is there anything? Or 93?
Venom 36 in 2013. It looked like he had a Venom mobile for a while. Yep.
Like the Spider-Mobile in the 70s? In those bad mid-70s Spider-Man times?
And then let's see. Oh, I don't know. Lots of stuff. Just talking about how
Lots of ins, lots of outs.
lots of ins. The Sinister Spider Ham.
So everything already is a parody of itself and associated with Spider-Man.
Yeah, I mean it is. This is bad.
By the way, the Wikipedia is wrong. The first appearance was not made Spider-Man 252. That was the first appearance in Spider-Man Comics. It was actually Secret Wars number 8. So that's actually wrong. And then as Venom, if you want me to get technical, it was actually Web of Spider-Man number 18. There's a cameo panel at the end, Ian. Didn't know this. This is how I show my cred. Where two hands push Peter onto the subway with the subway car coming, and his spider sense didn't go off. And he was like, what the fuck happened? How was that possible? Remember, Peter / Spider-Man cannot predict spider sense Venom because of the symbiote relationship.
Right.
That was a precursor to Venom. That was an alpha version, but that was actually the first real showing of the symbiote in essence there. I got the nerd cred, people. I got it. All right.
Apparently in 2009, Bullseye launched a dog into Venom's eye, but it did not kill him.
All right.
All right, so anyway.
We can see how relevant Venom is. He's done a lot of interesting stuff the past 25 years that we just don't know about.
All right.
Okay. Moving on.
Yeah.
Q&A time on the CU podcast.
All right. Ian asks,
Fucking Ian.
at Matt DeWolf says SEZ, is there any shame in having the complete Nintendo Power publication and 90% of official strategy guides, the retro ones only, in comics, but will never have it fully completed?
Well, being your retro gaming therapist, Matt, I can tell you that it's really in your own head whether or not you feel less of a man and as a retro game collector if you do not complete your strategy guide collection 100%. I mean, I don't see any inherent value, and this is coming from me, by the way, of having every official strategy guide. The retro ones are only, because what does that include? Every Brady's guide from the PlayStation 1 era that you're going to go nuts? Or just Nintendo stuff?
I think he's just talking the Nintendo strategy guide.
Some of those are hard to get. It's hard to really find some of those. Even like Link to the Past doesn't come up too often, or the N64 era ones you don't find as often.
Right.
I probably have 90% of them just finding them at the swap meet and just having them. I'm not trying to put you down, Matt. I'm not trying to kill your dream. So here's the point, Matt. If this doesn't, I'm becoming a therapist. If you hold value personally in being able to complete the collection as some sort of goal attained, and you think it's going to be cool, go for it. But when you say the word shame, that's just, there's a connotation to the word shame, and it's a loaded word. You shouldn't have any shame of anything that has to do with retro game collecting, because it doesn't fucking matter in the grand scheme of things.
Yeah.
It's a hobby. It's fun. It's cool to get into. It's cool to have. It's cool to show off if you want to say that. But to say I have shame for not completing collection is shameful in and of itself. You shouldn't worry about that. Have fun. When you feel like there's something negative by not completing it, it's no longer fun at that point, in my opinion. Matt, and that's something even I had to struggle with at some point.
If having the 90% of the stuff is a 12-foot penis, and having it all is a 13-foot penis,
you can still fuck some.
We're splitting hairs, is what I'm getting at. I mean, are you really that upset that you're missing that last foot?
You can still have sex with a hippo either way, if you really want to.
You could.
It'll reach in. It'll get in there.
Got all the way to those back molars.
Giraffe, not so sure. You got those legs you got to contend with. You need a step stool.
Problematic.
That. But but I mean, I'm trying to think if I've ever had shame because I hadn't completed something, or it was more of a longing, a desire, like a Fabio 90s romance novel, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
It was more one of those things. Now I'm picturing like a bunch of games on a bed with my shirt open halfway, my frilly 1800 shirt. But I've never felt less of a person for not having a complete collection of games. OCD does kick in though, and it's like, oh, I got to complete it. But that to me has nothing to do with shame. That's a whole other psychosis.
Yeah, that's a different thing.
So I don't know if this is a joke question or not, but have you ever felt shame about collecting a record even, or not having something, or not having that NG PC game?
Mm-mm.
Are you proud I did not say Neo Geo Pocket Color? That's actually easier to say than NGPC.
NGPC is really easy to say if you know what you're talking about.
Once you got past 3 letters, I don't want the acronym.
Oh, boy howdy.
Once it's scuba, I can say the word. So, I mean...
Scuba.
Is there anything else to add on this?
Scuba.
This is our first Q&A question in Castle Country.
Scuba. Sorry, that's a reference to Venture Brothers. Anyways, no, nothing else to say.
Okay, great. Moving on.
Oh, we never really trimmed these down, did we?
At Blood Ocean 07. What do you think the Switch Online service will consist of, Ian?
Not really sure why. I mean, Nintendo's said a few times. Okay. So it will consist of the ability to let people play games online. So basically, you'll no longer be able to play for free. You'll have to pay to do
$20 a year.
$20 a year.
Very reasonable.
Very reasonable. And and then the virtual console should. No, you're not going to get a virtual console.
Not at all.
Not at all. There's
Have they said that?
never going to be a virtual console.
I can never rebuy an NES game again? You sure about that, Ian?
I'm pretty goddamn certain that's
Are you
what
sure?
I'm fairly sure.
Okay.
Maybe someone should ask Chris Kohler if the virtual console's coming soon. I'm sure he'd love that.
Whoa, is that some Chris Kohler shade?
No, that's not shade. That's a joke.
What would Chris Kohler do?
Oh, Chris Kohler was making a bunch of tweets about how everyone still expects the Virtual Console to
Oh,
come out,
okay.
even though
Man.
Nintendo has stated numerous times that what we're going to get with the Switch Online service is sweet, delicious free games delivered to us.
We're gonna get a semi Netflix,
Yeah.
not of everything, but of a selection of at least 8 and 16-bit games.
Right. And I think those are the two big things that the service is going to offer you. Because really, what do the network that most of the other online services offer? I would like better matchmaking for game playing, and I would really love to be able to start friending people without a code, but that may never happen.
Can we get to the point where we can also do real communication? You think Nintendo will go backwards on that and get rid of a stupid fucking app?
Yeah,
to,
I would like that to.
I mean, can we get to that point
happen as
without
well.
having to like Skype in on my computer while having a TV in front of me? That'd be great.
But I miss some of the simple. I would like some of the simple things that I take for granted on like a PS4 or the Xbox 360 to be incorporated. Like if I see a friend playing a game that I have, I can just and I have the disc in the system or the game on the hard drive. Just click on their icon and hit join session instead of trying to hammer my way into rooms that they're playing on in Mario Kart 8 or etc.
Well, the good news is that since they keep pushing this back, they might be able to put this stuff in or think about it better.
Well, I mean, yeah, they were saying they were going to start doing free trials of it in fall of 2017.
And
So if
we're
they're
not-
putting it if they're pushing it until September, I'm hoping that they're going to take the time and put a lot of stuff into it.
It's like there's been a reawakening at Nintendo the
Yes.
past 8 months, 9 months.
Yeah, I think you're right. Reggie went over there
With a
and hit
fucking
some
base,
heads.
he pulled a Negan. That to me is a storyline. It's going to be in books written later, in the
Yeah.
future. About what Nintendo surge of 2017.
So, quick answer: games, online connectivity with people that you now have to pay for to play games online, and hopefully just better online infrastructure and convenience when joining games, and some better sort of communication.
And are we going to have our Mii's hanging out again still, or no? That's done.
I don't know. I still haven't made a me. I mean, I have one, but I don't use it. Okay.
Love that fucking song. All right. This is from... No, you got to do this one.
All right. So, at Retail Archaeology, would like to ask, what are your thoughts on Classic Game Room and Ben Heck leaving YouTube? And that's really more for you to answer.
Okay, well, I'll address Ben Heck first. I'll address Ben Heck, that son of a... No, I love
Ben.
Ben Heck leaving YouTube is not a shock to me.
No, it makes sense to me.
He brought it up on the Not So Common podcast when I interviewed him. Like, wow, that was like 9 months ago already. He mentioned that, yeah, this eventually is going to end. As I get a call from San Francisco, maybe it's Venom from the movie. Because he's there in the Lethal Protect. Anyway, so Ben Heck almost seems like, at this point, the YouTube show, to me, I don't want to speak for him. It's such a grind doing any sort of YouTube show. But to do it with the regularity that he's been doing it for years, like 5 years now? Has it been 5 or a little bit more? I can see him wanting to maybe try other things.
Yeah.
Maybe he's working on projects that he doesn't necessarily want to work on, but maybe he knows that the audience are going to like. I think like the two cases in mind. I think, again, I don't think he was dragged to do the Dragster Atari video.
Right.
That was his choice, but maybe that wasn't a first choice. Maybe he realized this gets the hits. I'm not speaking for him, but I think when you get to that point where there really stops to be an intersection between what do I enjoy and the content I produce, you start to take a step back.
Yeah.
And plus, I don't think Ben makes a fucking living doing YouTube videos. I don't think he makes a full living doing it. So
He should.
In that aspect, maybe it does make sense to take a step back and maybe work on other stuff I want to do that's a grind and it's a weekly thing. The Element 14, they produce those videos that he does. So they have a financial stake as well, probably in some aspect. So maybe Ben's like, all right, well, maybe the community is doing the videos. Maybe it's not my show as much anymore. I don't know. I'm just running these. I'm just spitballing here. But either
Sure.
way, you do something for a long time, and maybe you just want to move on and try something else.
Well, and I mean, I was thinking, once again, can't put words in his mouth, but maybe it's just taking away time from projects he really wants to do.
And he did an interview explain this, by the way. I
Yeah.
didn't know, so there's an interview with him.
I know.
That released on the channel. So
But,
he'll explain it better than us.
you don't always want to be doing projects on camera all the time. Maybe you just want to do stuff for yourself for once in a while.
To me, it's like the Mythbusters guy eventually they moved on.
Yeah.
They were on forever. They were popular, but sometimes their lives change, and you feel tied up by what you're currently doing.
Yeah. Being able to make a career or
By the way, he's ending the show end of June.
yeah. Or even
He's gonna-
make side money doing something that you love sometimes takes away from your ability to do that thing that you love on your own time, and suddenly you don't get the same result from it once you've turned it into a job.
Yeah, there's a lot of people behind it. It's a very well produced show, so there's money that goes into this Ben Heck show. There's money that goes into it, and the views. Just looking at the views of these videos, some do very well, some don't. And for a channel this size, you need some sort of corporate backing of some. I'm not saying Element 14 is like a big corporation, but you need some backing to get this shit done.
Yeah.
In this case, it's the hacking community, but these views can't support the amount of production going into them alone. So that's why when I say Ben Heck's not making a living off this, he ain't making a living off of this, and I can say that with confidence. Looking at the number of views, I know enough to know that that's not happening alone. He has other stuff going on. He has to. Looking at all this stuff, they are posting videos about Raspberry Pi project hacks. They get 20,000 views. There's other people doing stuff on the channel now, so there has been a transition going on anyway. But obviously, people love Ben.
Well, yeah, he's
the personality. He's a great
likable
guy. He's pretty cool, So some with him do great. N64 portable, it's alive. 562,000 views. But other stuff does nothing because it's a smaller audience. The hacking community versus people that like the retro game stuff and want to watch him tear apart the NES Classic. That's just the way it works, So with that said, I don't know if Ben would eventually come back and do videos on another channel or do a Patreon. The whole point is this: he probably is just feeling burnt out and wants to just step away either way.
Yeah.
And then you don't know. So when you work on a project forever, video game years,
Yeah.
in a certain NES Skybook, when you work on for stuff for so long, it's hard to think about what's next until you really separate yourself and see, okay, now my head's clear. I can at least divorce myself from that time. Now maybe I can come back to it slowly but surely or do something else. And he's only human. So I wish Ben the best of luck, whatever. Maybe I'll have him as a guest again on the podcast. Maybe he'll call into the CU podcast and talk to us, and we can get him going on that. But here's to Ben. I'm going to raise my Nintendo glass stein.
I never got water. Cheers, Ben.
Ian, the kitchen's over there, buddy. I'm sorry.
I forgot.
All right. What's the next question here? Oh, no, we're not done yet. Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
Classic Game Room. Mark, my pal Mark, also a guest on the NutsCon podcast way back. Wow, like a year ago. Mark is deciding that he wants to do a longer form show on Amazon. This is his words to me. I think I'm allowed to relay them. He's going to do a longer, like not feature length, but like an hour long, 45-minute long show that will feature, I guess, a string of reviews and consoles and put it together for the Amazon Prime audience. And these will not be, as far as I know, on YouTube. So you hate to use the word abandon, but he's shifting his focus to Amazon Prime. So Mark has always been looking at what's happening coming down the pike with the ad revenue changes of, was that 2013 when Angry Joe was whining? It was about late 2013.
Yeah.
And what happens? He really he's I'm not going to say right or wrong, but he's been abreast of what revenue's coming in, what streams are coming in. How can I make sure I can keep doing this?
Sure. And he's been a little bit
Patreon
leery
stuff.
of YouTube for a while.
For a
as well.
long time.
Yeah.
When so he has Patreon changes and things of that nature. So I'm not shocked he's making this decision because when you look at the CPMs, Amazon Prime's a lot higher than YouTube. But Amazon Prime is very specific content. They want episodic content. They want highly produced content. They don't want vloggers. They don't want people doing Let's Plays. Something like the Video Game Years, videogameyears.com, redirects to it. That's perfect for Amazon Prime. So I wish Mark the best of luck in that venture. It's a grind doing that sort of content, highly produced content, 45-minute videos. I don't know how often he can put them out. If he wants to do a week, every 2 weeks, that's going to be a grind, though. That's a lot harder than the content he's put out on his YouTube channel. A lot harder. Because if people are going to be going to Amazon Prime, they have an expectation, I think, of quality, saying, production values have to be there. I'm not saying he can't get it done, but I'm saying it has to be consistent.
Yeah, not necessarily. It's not a judgment on quality of content, but a quality of production. I think
Yes.
is expected because people open it up like Netflix and or Hulu or anything else, and they
Yeah.
do expect.
If they find it by accident,
Yeah,
it has to be their standards of everything else on Amazon Prime sitting next to it,
right.
or else people may not return to it, because you have people that already follow your work that some will follow over, but Amazon Prime's really for that sea of people that
Are new to whatever Amazon's bringing to them.
Video Game Years got found by a lot of people that had no idea the show existed when it got to Amazon Prime.
Oh, my.
There were people that I think I heard from someone that even Rue got stopped on the street by someone said, "Hey, I saw you on Amazon Prime."
People have said
Yeah,
that
yeah.
to me before, and Vonnie's ex.
Who hadn't watched the show before?
Yeah, and Vonnie's ex actually was talking about how he was at work and he does like animation and stuff like that, and they were all working and like they throw up there's like a big TV that they usually
throw
like,
up.
they throw documentaries up on, during the workday, like just to have like background noise, and they decided that they were going to put up some video game stuff, and he's like so I'm working and all of a sudden I hear this voice. I know that motherfucker. And he looks up and it's you and I on the screen. So yeah, I mean it Amazon can be great if you can produce it or grind through it. I mean, it would almost make sense for him to make a season's worth of content and then put it out.
I think that's, if I had to give Mark advice, public advice, which he's not asking for, I think that's probably the way you have to go. Because if Video Game Years comes back, especially if we didn't raise the money to produce it the way we should, it would have to go on Amazon Prime to make any sort of money back, because it doesn't make money on YouTube. We would have to produce at least, I'd say, 5 episodes, if not all 9 of the 90s, and put on at the same time, so you get people to binge all of them at one time. So that's the only way you can make money, is that because they're not coming back a month from now and watching the next one.
No.
They want to watch it now. I want my Mad Men fixed now.
Yeah.
So I think that's what's going on there. So the other thing about Amazon Prime, for those of you who don't know, is that it has to be approved. Your series has to be approved, but also you have to have closed captioning done on every video.
Oh, that's right.
So there's an upfront cost, because YouTube does do some automatically, but for Video Game Years, John and I had to pay out the front costs. They're not huge, but they're going to add up. If you're doing a video even every week, they're going to add up, and you got to make that money back. So there's that too. Plus, it's just another pain in the ass to do that. You got to upload a closed captions file as well. So there you have it. I wish both Ben and Mark best of luck. I'm sure I'll speak with both of them again. I still want to be able to see Mark at a convention. Mark, come out to a convention in Pennsylvania that will probably be at. I mean, come on, buddy.
Do it.
You're killing me, Mark. Don't make a fucking maniac out of me, Mark. All right. This is from Timmy Johnson. Walmart starting to phase out older games. Wii U, Wii, 360, PS3, and more. They are selling some for 3 cents. How will this affect collectors and the market?
Honestly, I don't think it's going to. At least from what I've seen of like the Wii and the Wii U stuff that they're selling, and I'm sure it's probably the same for the 360 and PS3 stuff. They're not getting rid of anything for super low prices that aren't games that like I don't have a bazillion of at the store. Basically, the games that I'm seeing go for this low are games that I have a ton of at the store, and the difference between paying basically nothing and paying $3 for them, they're basically at this point they're giving away overstock that is worthless. Is essentially what they are doing.
Or they're slashing it in the system so they could clear it to, I don't know what they do. I don't think they're probably going to toss some of this stuff.
Yeah,
most likely, or they're gonna wholesale it to someone to clear it out.
There's no analogy here, and I'm not saying that Tim here is making this, but I don't want people to make this analogy that it's anything like, say, what Funko Land did at the end of the NES, where you can get games for pennies. Because
this is just new stock that's older.
Right. No one knew anything about games back then, etc. This is just like one of the pictures I saw was someone with a stack of, like 6 Kirby's Epic Yarns sealed. Why do you have that many? Why do you need them? That game doesn't sell anywhere.
You're not going to be able to sell them to make a profit, really. You know, sell them for what, $3 on eBay? Make $1 each on them? Like, what are you gonna do?
Yeah, $15 in 10 years. Congratulations, that was a worthwhile investment.
The only retro gaming comparison I would say is what Toys R Us did in the late 90s, early 2000s, where you still had Earthbounds potentially in the store or copies of Star Tropics and Zoda's Revenge for like $3-4 brand new. Like that was the last shit they had of that you can get brand new. And NES Advantages they still had laying around. They were like $3. That's where I got my new one, somewhere in one of these fucking boxes I have to open still because I'm a maniac and own way too many games. It's around there somewhere.
Sure.
It's around there. But the whole point is that that's the only comparison. So some of these games, just running through a list here, and Slick Deals had a link to some of these. Metroid Other M, Kirby's Epic Yarn. You have Sin and Punishment 2. Wario Land Shake It.
Sin and Punishment 2 is actually pretty good for that price.
Yeah, some of these Wii Party. That's something I would play for if it was cheap. On the Wii U, you have FIFA 13, Madden 13, Yoshi's Woolly World, and the Pink Yarn Yoshi Amiibo bundle. Really? That's interesting because the Amiibos, you think that would still command something. And no, it doesn't. It really is. You can get it. Okay, you can still get it. It's cheaper than what it was. But yeah. So I think it's going to be your mileage may vary based upon what store you're at versus overall ordering it online. I think some of these deals would have to be what does your store have? What do they want to clear out? Like if your store happens to still have some Wii game sitting there, potentially in some weird section that they didn't put in the back
so I'll
yet.
take it back. I mean, Sin and Punishment 2 doesn't go for a ton, but I mean, that would be a great game to get new for 3 cents. I mean, why not?
And you have PS3 games, Zone of the Enders HD collection. Oh, Pearl. You have Tiger Woods PGA Golf Tour 12, the Masters, Little League World Series, Madden NFL 12. Yeah, this is just stuff they want to throw out.
Yeah.
I mean, let's be honest. A 5-year-old NHL game, 6-year-old NHL game, you're not selling them anywhere at this point. You're not selling them at Luna. One PlayStation Vita game, Madden NFL 13.
Oh, yeah.
Metal Gear Solid 5 is on here because I made a jillion of those, and some 360 games like Persona 4 Arena, Zone of Enders HD collection, Pearl, Castlevania Lords of Shadow 2, etc., etc. So go to your local Walmart, see what you can find. If you wanted to play them, great. You're not going to be able to invest in these and probably make anything.
Yeah, this is, I mean, some of those games, I mean, Zone of Enders, 3 cents.
Yeah.
Sin and Punishment, 3 cents. Go for it. But this is not going to have an impact in any long-term.
Don't
shape, or
hustle.
form.
Don't hustle backwards buying new old stock of games that are still existing for a reason.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, don't do their work for them. All right, this is from That Ass Is My Boss, who should be almost a CU Podcast Q&A Hall of Famer at this point.
Correspondent. He can
Correspondent?
be. He can be.
Correspondent.
He can man the bureau wherever he.
I almost feel like, yeah, if we eventually do the show on Twitch or whatever, they'll have like a sticker by their name, a special star or something. As retro games become more expensive, do you think more collectors are turning to the homebrew market for new original content? And do you think there is much overlap between retro and homebrew collectors, or are they essentially two different markets?
It's a good question, but I honestly think it's.
Is it
I
simple?
don't think it's two markets.
I do, but I'll let you go first.
Well, not necessarily. I feel like, how would I put this? Retro gamers are not always going to be interested in homebrew. But I feel like people who are into homebrew are already going to have some interest in retro gaming.
Well, sure, because that's the console they're playing the homebrew on.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So that's where the overlap is. As retro games become more expensive, do I think more collectors are turning to homebrew? Not necessarily, just because physical releases of homebrew can be expensive as well. And you have to look at whether or not, the person who's created, X, Y, or Z homebrew has, permitted for it to be flashed to carts to be played for free or things like that. I think homebrew is getting more popular and more interesting, though, as people are no longer finding, as many gems. At some point, out of 750 plus NES games, there's, the hidden gem videos have to stop, guys. I mean, we've dug up all the jewels. So now it's interesting to see.
My book ruined it.
It's interesting to see new new material being made for these systems. So I think there is some excitement that way to see new games for these old systems, but
But there's
I don't.
so many games that most people haven't played that
Well, it's
we're,
true.
we're anomalies when it comes to the retro gamer. Sort of typical, the retro gamer hasn't played more than 60 or 70 NES games at most, and there's a lot of shit that they can still go out and play via emulator or a flash card. So I think when you look at the time you have versus what's out there, you're never going to play every retro game. You're never going to play every good retro game that already exists. And a lot of the homebrews, or I should say a lot, some of the homebrew games don't stack up to even the average games from 30, 40 years ago. They just don't. So I can't see, if you're looking for actual gameplay value, go rediscover games that you haven't played or play some game that you've never picked up that exists. And a lot of them are cheap if you want the real cartridge. It goes back to, there's a lot of NES games that cost $3 that are good.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, in homebrew, a
Nice.
lot of it is kind of about a community as well.
Yes.
You know,
you want to see what other people are, there's a celebration. Oh, I made this game,
and I'm making this, and yeah, I mean, there's a lot of fun in that aspect of it. So in that way, a lot of times it is about the game, but it's also about just swapping tricks and stuff with other people that you're talking to. But no, I don't think the price of retro games becoming expensive or whatever has anything to do with people turning towards
no,
homebrew.
because if you want to play the game, you'll emulate it. I mean, that's just the bottom line.
I think homebrew is
There's a reason you have all these shitty Facebook ads popping up with all-in-one little fucking retro devices that have ROMs on them illegally. I mean, people buy them.
Yeah.
Goes back to the carts like got shut down by Nintendo in the in the 90s with their all-in-ones out for view with all the 18 different versions of Contra on it. I mean, people always want to play retro games in some fashion or another. They don't necessarily care how they do it.
yeah.
But homebrew, yeah, the homebrew is important. Obviously, it's great with the NES Maker. It'll be easier. We'll do that little shout out for Joe there. But yeah, I do. My personal opinion, I think they are two totally different markets. In my opinion, from what I've seen, you have certain people that want to collect every single homebrew game or get a bunch of them, and the majority don't give a shit or just like, yeah, they're cool.
Oh
but,
no, I agree with you in
Yeah.
that regards. I thought, okay,
Oh, we do agree. We agree, Ian.
we agree.
We didn't do a Patreon Q&A. We'll do it next time. But we have a Patreon, Ian. It's patreon.com/CU Podcast.
Podcast.
We're going to be updating that bad boy soon. So we'll have an announcement before the next podcast and by the next podcast for stuff that's coming on. But this was an entertaining, educational Castle Country CU podcast. Why don't you subscribe to us on YouTube or iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, wherever you listen to us, Podbean, yeah, we'll be back here in a couple of weeks. This will grow slowly but surely, and I will put this together and and we'll figure out how better to use the mics. But no, they're pretty good. How we can not cover up your face with using the booms here, Ian. We don't want to do that.
I can't.
You can't do. Oh no, you can't. You're gonna install custom arms that are higher.
Yeah.
Just put some boxes here.
Yeah, I need higher up armrests.
If you want to help us sponsor, advertise with us, shoot an email to cupodcast@thepunkeffect.com, and we can help you out. Advertise your product, brand, and or YouTube channel if you so desire.
Wheel deal, whiz bang.
Yeah. So for Ian Contry,
I'm Pat Ferguson.
that's not how I wanted the first Castle Country podcast to end, but I guess that's how it's going to end. We'll see you in a couple of weeks. Happy Valentine's Day, everyone. I hope you find someone special because I am not.
Get laid.